Apologize for the delay. I am now calling the joint special call budget and finance meeting and special call committee of the whole meeting to order. It is 3:43 p.m. and it's Monday, November 28th. Committee members, have you had a chance to view the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The minutes from last meeting have passed. Committee members, are there any items you would like to place on consent?
Yes.
Councilor Abbott.
I would like to place items 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, and 19 on consent and have speakers provide lots and lots and lots of information on all the other items.
Okay.
Second.
Chief Mitchell. Lots and lots of information. Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes. If your item was placed on consent, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I'm going to call up items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 all at once, just because it's Coriante. We don't want you to come up here about 10 different times. So a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a BOLD program agreement with the Birmingham Business Alliance, BBA, under which BBA, as part of the city's Building Opportunities for Lasting Development BOLD program, to create, we're going to say a program with city's Legacy Biz, Birthwell Partners, Diane's Heart Incorporated, Take Alabama, also called Education Farm. What's the next one? Eli and Serving You Ministries, Is Able Ministries, Rebirth Community Corporation, and the Surge Project. And this will be for various amounts for 12 months. Is there a motion to bring up items 4 through, I move to bring up items 4 through 11 for approval. I moved, sorry, motion on these items to bring them up. Okay, Coriate.
Second. Okay.
Good afternoon, council. Just a brief update. We're excited to present this year's BOLD finalists to you guys. You guys are very familiar with BOLD and has supported it through the years, and so we have a packet for everyone. If you don't, please let me know and I'll make sure I get you one. But it lists the background information that you guys, like I said, have supported throughout the years. So I'll jump sort of straight into some of the improvements that we've made. BOLD was allocated up to $1 million in the FY23 budget. And today what you'll see is the funding opportunity for these 8 finalists who we have selected through a committee process here at the City of Birmingham. So 2 things that we want to point out that we did different this year. We added in partnership with our community development department, the geographic priority areas, and we also did very targeted sort of support and technical assistance program so that those who applied knew exactly what we were looking for in the RFP, and then we went through the competitive process in that way. In addition to that, we're very proud of the partners that we have as finalists today. They are all minority and are women-led. 5 of the 8 of them are new to BOLD, and the majority are small neighborhood-based organizations which collectively address all BOLD objectives and hit all of the geographic priority areas that we have here. I'll go through each one and sort of tell what they're doing. I'll try to do that in very short order, but as detailed as possible as well. The Surge Project is a Black and woman-led 501c3 neighborhood-based organization that is dedicated to decreasing community violence and transforming lives of justice system impacted youth through holistic support in mental health care. BOLD will fund the Work Well Initiative, which is a workforce development partnership with the National Training Institute for Healthcare Technicians to provide opportunity for 40 individuals ages 18 to 35 from 5 Points West, Inslee, Smithfield, and Illaton to become certified health professionals. The Is Able Center is a Black-led 501c3 neighborhood-based organization with a mission to enhance the quality of life for individuals with disabilities, their loved ones, and caregivers. The organization is led by Mr. Lorenzo Brown, who is a C5 quadriplegic man paralyzed from the chest down from a gunshot wound at the age of 17. Yeah.
Here real quick, because some councilors may have questions for each one. So let's go back to the Surge project, and that's item number 11. Committee members, do you have any questions about this item? This is workforce development for adults ages 18 to 35 to help reduce gun violence.
Yeah, I want to ask one question. All of the contracts for all of these bold recipients, the contracts are all exactly the same except for Exhibit A, which details precisely what they're supposed to be doing and how they're going to be measured.
Correct.
And I think it was in the contract that I read that we may ask to meet with them and get further information, but it doesn't say that we will. And I was just wondering about that contract language. It seems like if we're giving these people public money, we would, definitely stay on top of them instead of just if we feel like it.
So in their contract, they come back to council halfway through their performance period, and then we produce a report at the end of the performance period back to you guys. But at any time, the city can call for the partners to come back and give us an update.
And that would be if there's a problem?
Not necessarily. So we do have program managers who visit the organizations, and they go through and make sure that they're on par. So it's not just if there's a problem, there's sort of continual support from our department to them to make sure that they're successful.
Okay, and these program managers, are they employees of the city or are they contract?
They are. They are employed at IEO.
There were a lot of new names. There were a lot of new names in there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's all my questions for the moment.
For this one? Okay. I guess how would you determine who the 40 individuals are? Is this like recommendations from, I don't know, colleges, community, or jobs? How will you determine that? How will you spread the word?
So we have our partners here from Surge. Come on up. And they'll walk through all the details of the actual program.
Hey, could you repeat the question for us?
Just kind of talk about your programming, how you'll reach out to those individuals to determine the 40 individuals, and how you kind of track them.
Yes, well, one of the things that we do is we like to leverage all the partnerships that we already currently have. We are well connected in the geographic priority areas that we've already chosen. So just based on that, we'll be pulling in people from the areas that we're already connected to. And also we'll be doing some other programs through the libraries, setting up some career fairs, things of that nature, definitely using social media as a platform as well to make sure we're pulling in those 40 people. And we believe that through our organization, also the partner organization, and the reputation that they have, we will definitely have those 40 people by the end of the year.
Okay. Well, I'm confident you guys will. They're actually in Hemphill and Washington doing something similar. Yeah. So, and they have the stats for that. Council members, do you have any questions for the Surge project? Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the next one. I can't remember. What was the next one you did? Is it Is Able?
It is Able.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's item number 9.
And just to mention, so, our internal process is a interdepartmental process between, actually, Administrator Jeff McDaniels was part of our selection committee this year as well. So there was quite an extensive process to select these 8. So I just wanted to make sure I closed the gap there on how these 8 were selected. So they went through a automatic check to make sure there was a couple of things in place. One, that they were, meeting the objectives. 2, they gave geographic priority, and also they brought 20% match to the table for their funding. So that was the first round, and then we went through and sort of graded all of them, and then had a live presentation in front of a panel of about 10 interdepartmental from community development, council, our department, and some others here in the city. So
Okay,
just
Councilor
wanted to-
Abbott had a question about that process.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you could send us a list of the names of the people that are on the committee, just so we'll know. And I wanted to ask, do we have transparency forms and business licenses and everything for these folks? Because that wasn't included in our packets,
We did.
and so we need to see that.
Okay.
I mean, I believe you, but I still want to read them myself. So if those could be sent to us, and the names of the people who are on the committee, just for our information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is Able. This is.
You're good.
Okay. So This is Able Center is a Black-led, neighborhood-based organization with the mission to enhance the quality of life for individuals with disabilities, their loved ones, and caregivers. This organization is led by Mr. Lorenzo Brown, a C5 quadriplegic man paralyzed from the chest down, gunshot wound at the age of 17. The BOLD program will focus on 45 individuals with disabilities in North Birmingham, 5 Points West, Woodlawn, with workforce development, including employment and job readiness services, social engagement and support groups, and the training and life skills and health and wellness for individuals with disabilities. So that is the This Able Center.
Okay, is Mr. Brown here? Okay, come up, Mr. Brown. I didn't know if you had any additional information we need to hear.
Anything specific that you would like to know?
Not in particular, but I'll let my committee members talk first. So, Councilor Abbott?
Yes, I would like to know where you find the people that you're going to help. What kind of publicity do you do, or is there publicity, or are there organizations that you partner with?
Yes. The Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services send the bulk of our referrals. But then additional, word of mouth and, your social media outlets.
And these people are going to receive training in life skills and health and wellness. Are they being prepared for jobs, or
Yes,
just
ma'am.
to improve their lives with?
So when we get our referrals from the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services, we go through a 3-step process. We do job readiness training, and then we do job placement, and then we do job retention for a period of 90 days.
Okay. Okay, so they already have to have a skill, but you're providing them with the job readiness, or you're actually training them in a skill so that they can get a job?
So when we do our job readiness training, it's workplace skills training. We're doing, how to get along in the workplace with your coworkers, how to dress properly, how to, do your interviews, and the workplace behavior, how to handle stress, how to handle conflict, things like that in the workplace. And then when we write a job plan for them, we'll write it based on what their educational level is, what type of work did they do in the past, what can they physically, mentally, and emotionally handle, and we kind of match them with a job in the community based on that.
So if a person came to you and they wanted to be a computer programmer, but they weren't one when they came in the door, do you get them the training to become a computer programmer, match them up?
No, ma'am.
So they already need to have...
If they want to be a computer, yes, they have to have that education.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Gotcha. So you're just helping people who have degrees and can't have
Yeah.
jobs. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Some of our people that come in have degrees. I mean, you know.
No, that's what I was saying. You were helping people who have degrees find jobs, because just because you
Correct,
have a degree
correct.
doesn't mean you have a job.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Madam President?
Yes, thank you very much. I do have a question regarding this particular program. From what I'm understanding from your answers, you're not targeting particular jobs or various industries. You're just taking these individuals that have been identified as needing help with addressing these skills or obtaining these job readiness skills and those types of
Yeah,
things.
so
Is that
our
correct?
individuals that we serve, they are individuals with disabilities. Some of them have some very severe type disabilities that they just can't fill out an application and get hired on. You know, they have to be matched with the correct employer that can be able to do the modifications and different things like that so that they can be successful when they do get the job.
Thank you. And so the referrals that you get from the Department of Rehabilitation Services, those referrals are they based on the disability and the severity? I know you're targeting people that have dealing with depression or grief. Is there some type of algorithm that they have to go through or that is used to assess their participation in your program?
So when they send the referrals over, it's various types of disabilities that people may have. You know, we may get somebody who is a quadriplegic just like I am. Then we may have somebody who has no physical disability whatsoever, but they're intellectually challenged, you know, or, I mean, we may get somebody who was a former, attorney, but, can't mentally handle that type of work anymore, so.
Thank you. Those are my only questions. Thank you. Thank you.
And what ages are you targeting? Is it 18 and 35?
So our pre-employment transition services are 9th through 12th graders, which we go into the Birmingham City Schools and teach
Okay.
that. But then our employment placement program, once they are graduated school, is 18 through or older.
18 and older. That's good. This program is so needed. I went to EPIC as a child, and at an early age, that's where kids who had disabilities and kids who didn't, we had to learn how to interact. And I thought that was so important as a child that, if making sure that you include everybody, no matter what conditions you have or what kind of personalities that you have. Because I'm really excited to see this, because I think maybe after middle school, like they kind of just, if you're disabled, they kind of just put you in the corner, honestly. They don't really help you. They just kind of graduate you through, and then that's it. So I'm really excited to see this
Thank you.
happening.
Thank
yes, sir. Council members, do you have any questions? Councilor Clark? Councilor Quinn? You good? Councilor Woods? Good? Okay. Councilor Abbott, do you have any more questions about this item?
On that one, no.
Okay.
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, or next business.
The next one that I want to call up is Rebirth Community Corporation.
And that's item 10.
Rebirth Community Corporation is a Black-led 501c3 neighborhood-based organization with a mission to improve the lives of at-risk, disadvantaged population in the city of Birmingham. The BOLD programming specifically is Reboot, Rebuilding Better. Will support 100 minority, women, disadvantaged business enterprises to recover economically and emotionally from COVID-19 pandemic through mental health counseling, financial coaching, access to capital. The project will specifically focus on entrepreneurs in North Birmingham, Woodlawn, and Eastlake.
Okay. Is someone from Rebirth here?
Yes.
Okay. Can you bring them up, or can they come up? If you could just introduce yourselves so we can know who you guys are, or any additional information we need.
Doug Taylor.
I'm Ebony Hopkins.
Okay. All right. Committee members, do you have any questions, Madam President?
Yes, This is a very interesting program, and it's one that I think is much needed given the target audience that you have. How are people selected for this program, or how do you get referrals, or how you select the candidates for this program?
So we've primarily been advertising through social media and some of our other partnerships, and candidates are selected. Anybody who applies can be a part of the program because the support is so broad. Mm-hmm. Some have more of a need for like financial strategy. Some just have their biggest need is their mental health. And so once we have participants apply, we do an assessment to see where they are from a business perspective. Do you have a business license, checking account? Do you have proper payroll? We also do an assessment from the mental health portion. Do you have insurance? Do you have any pre-existing conditions? And so based on their assessment, we can define what their course of action is going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Abbott.
Yes, thank you. Can you tell me your name again, sir?
Doug Taylor.
Okay, you said it too fast for me. These businesses that you're going to be assisting, are they businesses that exist already that went through the COVID pandemic, or are these new businesses, or is it a combination of anybody who wants to go into business?
Mm-hmm. It's a combination. We've been able to customize our program depending upon the state of the entrepreneur. We have some cohorts that focus on the dreamers, those that are 9 to 5, have 9 to 5 jobs, but they want to go into full-time entrepreneurship. We've been able to support those that wanted to start their companies, as well as those that wanted to scale. And so the partnerships we have and the curriculum that we've been able to develop is totally customizable based on the level and the desires of either the potential or the existing entrepreneur.
So when you find these entrepreneurs that either are already in business or they want to be in business, do you bring them into your office and have like group meetings, or do you do all this work one-on-one and customize each person's program to the needs that they have?
You want to speak to that?
Okay. So, I'm Ebony Hawkins. So what we do is we send them out an initial assessment, like Doug said, about asking you about your business well-being and then your personal well-being, because they both go together. We know that with entrepreneurs, they are the biggest assets for their businesses. So wanting them to be able to help create balance. And so after the initial assessment, we do talk to them to create an individualized plan for them so that everybody's getting the same basic business services and connections, but also making sure that we're targeting them individually to help meet their mental, social well-being needs as well.
And in the end, how will your success be measured?
So with the mental well-being part, we do have some assessments that we'll give in the beginning and the end. So in the mental health field, behavior field, we use the standard evidence-based assessments, and then with business and the individual action plans, being able to say, okay, you have your marketing plan, you have your business strategic plan set up, and you're actually executing and walking out the steps is how we'll be able to tell how much progress that they've made.
So the ones that aren't in business yet, will the measure of success be whether they went into business or whether they just got to feeling better about going into business someday?
So with the assessment, the goal is to speak to individuals that are wanting to go into business and already have like their basic idea and services that they want to offer. So we do have workshops and symposiums in addition to the actual reboot cohort where those individuals can figure out, okay, what is it that you're wanting to do? Okay, you might say, I know I want to be a business owner one day, but I don't know what I want to do yet. So those spaces would be better accommodating for them so they can figure out, okay, what is it that I want to do? And then joining the cohort would allow them to build on that.
Okay, and last question probably is, do you have other organizations that you partner with to refer them to if they need help that you don't provide?
Yes, ma'am, we do. We've had several community partners that have become business coaches, and they speak to the cohorts and the classes, and they also provide one-on-one coaching to them as well, where they can help them dive deeper into like strategic planning, getting that written out. If you need some individual counseling, family counseling services, we also have those providers and coaches as well that we refer to.
Good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Council members, do you have any questions? Okay. You good?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, Councilor Clark.
I'm standing light here.
Not all of them have lights.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Okay. The mic doesn't work?
It works.
Okay. So I was just curious about, have you delivered this program prior to getting this funding? You've got a track record
Yes,
with
ma'am.
this system of services?
Yes, ma'am. So this is actually going to be the second year. So we're actually in the class right now. For our participants, they have been affected by COVID. Some of them had already started businesses. Some of them are new to business because life happened. They had loved ones, or they lost jobs because of illness. And so they had to pivot and start to go into business for themselves. So we've been able to provide them with some mental health services and actually getting business structured out legally so they can be more successful and sustainable.
Okay.
Okay, so today we've supported over 200 individual business owners, whether it be through the symposiums or through the actual cohorts. We've had several individuals receive grant funding and also six-figure contracts in their business providing those services as well. We've also had individuals who are now, through our assistant program, who have been able to afford their medications for mental health issues. We also know that with entrepreneurs, a lot of times they have mental health conditions that don't fit into corporate America as well. So you see a lot of people with anxiety, depression, ADHD, substance use that fit better in a more flexible environment. So we've been able to help them through our mental health services like counseling to be able to be more successful and stable.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Quinn, you good?
A place where we can ask general questions. I have some questions.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next business.
So next we'll have Education Farm, or known as Ed Farm. Ed Farm is a Black-led 501c3 organization that offers cutting-edge workforce development to address Black and Brown underrepresentation in the tech industry. This BOLD funding supports the Pathways to Technology program, which will train 120 underemployed adults and youth in information technology to gain industry credentials and placement with jobs, apprenticeships, fellowships. The recruitment will focus on North Birmingham, Eastlake, and Woodlawn. We're also excited that this year to facilitate the connection between Ed Farm and the Birmingham Civil Rights District to provide apprenticeships for graduates to provide technical support to legacy businesses in that area.
Is someone here from Tech Farm, Tech Alabama?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You can state your name.
Latoria Foy. I'm the Director of Economic Mobility at Ed Farm.
Okay. All right. Committee members, do you have any questions? Councilor Abbott?
So you're going to be providing workforce training for technical jobs?
Yes, ma'am. We are providing workforce training. The programs that we provide now is around development. iOS development was specifically what we started with, so app development in the Swift programming language. We also provide professional and career development as well through our success coaching model.
Okay, good. And what will happen if someone comes to you and wants to join the program that's not in one of these target neighborhoods? Will they be turned away, or will they need to move?
No, we wouldn't turn them away. We consider our participants from these target areas as priority, but we still want to make sure that we're servicing all Birmingham City residents.
So the guy who wants to be the computer programmer can be referred by the other group to you.
Sure can.
All be friends. And the apprenticeships, can you explain how that's going to work?
Well, right now it's under a fellowship just because there's a very long process for it to be considered an apprenticeship. But the fellowship is a 6-month paid opportunity for participants that are really interested in making that career transition. And so what we do is pair them up with some of our IT professionals at Ed Farm under our product and IT team. And they actually work to make sure that they're developing those skills needed for the industry.
Okay, and maybe I may have misunderstood because I'm having a little trouble hearing. And of course, you're probably having trouble hearing me. So the fellowships will be through BCRI. Is that what I heard, or did I?
The fellowship is through Ed Farm.
Okay, well, I don't know where I got that. Okay, thank you. I was trying to figure out how that was working.
Are they guaranteed a job after the fellowship, or I guess priority in the applications for a permanent job?
So I wouldn't say they're guaranteed a job after the fellowship, because what we're doing is actually working with them to make sure that they're prepared. We also have workshops around interviews, building their resume, and then lining them up with the actual industries that we've been able to engage with.
Okay.
So our hope is that each individual has a job.
Okay, and for the youth aspect, is that like a, will that be a summer internship, or is youth more defined like 18 to 21?
So youth would be something that we're doing an internship for. So that's, you can say youth and our adult programs are separate, because we also work with Birmingham City. So right now we have a K through 12 department as well. And so we've been able to kind of partner with Birmingham City through that to provide some programming with some of their students. And it's also summer programs as well.
So how is it divided? Is it going to be like, what is that, 61 adults and 61 youth, or is it going to be more youth or adults? How is that going to work?
It's normally more adults. We've just kind of tapped into youth, so I would say around 90-30 is going to be our adult programs, and then our youth programs is around 30 participants.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Council members, do you have any questions for this business? Okay.
I do have one.
Yes, Councilor Abbott.
Just one more question, and that is, if people come to you and they want to be in this tech program, do you do any kind of assessments to determine if they're actually capable or have an orientation towards something like that, or do they just come in and do the best they can?
We do an application process to see what their background is, but we wouldn't consider it an assessment of what you would need to have before starting our program, because we have an intro into our programs, which is low lift. So we try and make sure it's packed with a lot of support for those participants that just may need more needs than others. So I wouldn't necessarily say we're assessing them to see who would be the perfect fit for it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President?
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to piggyback on a question that Councilor Pro Tem, the chair, asked about the youth participation in the program. Is you say you're partnering with Birmingham City Schools. So will the student, do they matriculate through this program during the school year, or is it a summer program? I just want to get clarity on that.
So we have a summer program, but right now we have also had an opportunity to do a program with Carver, the students at Carver that got the All-Tech scholarship. So we'll actually be providing them programming throughout the school time, throughout their school time.
Perfect. And the other, I just wanted to hear just a little bit more about what your measure of success would be, because these are underemployed in the information technology industry. So would your measure of success be those who get gainful employment, or just that they get additional skills by going through this program?
Well, I would say it's both of those in so many ways. So we measure success by how they've been able to complete a rigorous program. One, we like to make sure that they've been able to get through it because they've gained some skills and technical skills from it. But we also want to make sure that a part of success is them actually getting to their goal, whatever their goal may look like coming to us. A lot of it is employment. Some of it may be upskilling in an organization that they're already in. So
that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Clark?
Curious, how many students do you expect to serve, or do you aim to serve through this grant?
The overall students, or the adults as well?
Well, just how many people do you plan to serve with this program or this grant?
They said
120.
122? 120?
120.
Yeah, 22.
Okay. Thank you.
And they said, I asked that question, they were thinking like 90-30, so 90 adults and 30 youth. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know some counselors have some general questions, so can we ask you some general questions about the BOLD program? So, committee members, do you have any general questions about the BOLD program? Okay. Counselors, Counselor Quinn.
All right, yeah. These microphones are tricky. Okay, so general question. So the BOLD program was initiated, I think its first program year was 2019. And you actually on page 2 of the handout you have here, slide number 3. It shows the amount of leveraged support. So after the 2020 program year, we see a big drop off in the leverage support. And I was just wondering if you had, some sort of explanation for that.
Yeah, so primarily COVID affected that greatly, but also we made sure that we started really focusing on neighborhood serving businesses or organizations, and so they're not able to leverage, the 70 and 60 and 80% that some of the organizations in 2019 did. And so what you actually see is a closer representation to neighborhood organizations being able to enter into this program because they're at least bringing the 20%. Some may hit 25, but we were very careful to make sure that we looked at their budget to make sure it wasn't honestly a lot of sort of fluff there, right? So some larger organizations are able to say, here's what we're going to leverage, and it's 70%, which is great on paper, but what you're seeing here in this trend is that we've scaled that down to make sure that we're hitting neighborhood businesses who are on the ground, and often those are the ones that are underfunded, and so they're bringing just enough at that 20% level to be able to enter and be competitive in the program.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so obviously some of these organizations are new to us, and but some of them, we know pretty well and have been able to track their progress over the years. So you had the application process and the selection committee. Obviously, we're not, in the context of this committee meeting, going to be able to vet these organizations probably to the level that we, should, or there should absolutely be some vetting, but I'm trusting that the selection committee has done the deep dive with each of these organizations and asked all the hard questions. So explain to me, all of the vetting that has gone into, identifying these organizations so that, I can have some confidence that all of the questions that may not, get asked today have been covered by the selection committee.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that question. I think our partners can attest to the rigor of the program who are behind us. And so the first part is, we release the RFP and then we ask for responses to that. From that, we make sure that they meet a couple of things, and one being the 20% match. That's a requirement in the RFP that they bring 20% match, and it's very specific for what that match looks like. So after they've been able to bring that match to the table, we then put together a interdepartmental committee. Again, it's about 10 people from different departments: community development, finance, IEO, of course, city council as well. And so they're able to read through all of the programs that the partners are recommending that they do with this particular funding. From there, they were invited into an in-person, I think it was about 20-minute presentation to walk through the program, similar to what we're doing today, but they were able to present to that group. And that group were able to ask questions and make sure that they understood the budget narrative, the work plan, and also the metrics and inputs that they have agreed to up until this point. And so after that process, we then went back, gave feedback from all of these sessions to each partner, and then further negotiated where it may have been unclear or where other committee members may have had questions. For example, some of the leverage funding here that you'll see, some of it was just sort of personnel leverage, right? And so we really went back and forth to make sure we understood what would that person be doing, how much time would they be spending on this program versus the overall organization. And so we went through that over and over again with each partner to make sure that they understood what the intent of the program is, and then that we understood what they were willing to do based on the agreement. And so what you see here in front of you is, at least for the budget budget narrative is a lesser amount than most organizations ask for, because we wanted to be very sure that we had very clear input and metrics on what they were doing. And so a lot of them agreed to partner with us to make sure that we could get these objectives accomplished and that we serve the organizations well. So that's about a 60-day process, if not longer, to make sure that we have the right partners at the table. So up until probably 2 days before they were submitted for the council agenda today, we were still understanding and making sure this is what's going in front of the council. Do we all agree? And if we don't, let's have that conversation. But thankfully, all of our 8 wonderful partners agreed to these terms. And so I do want to mention also that in the agreements that you have before you, all of them have inputs and measures based on their agreement. And so you can easily, very clearly see what they're going to be doing over the next 12 months. And then they report on those to us every quarter throughout the year. And so we'll be able to track that process. And again, we have program managers that track the process. They visit, make site visits, and make sure that we support them the best way that we can. And if there are any issues in the programming, we try to go ahead and get ahead of that, through having our program managers make sure they understand and have a pulse on the program.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I think one thing that council probably needs is, like, not this year, but the BOLD program's been in existence, and we know, or we understand that IEO has been tracking these organizations and measuring KPIs and that sort of thing. The council hasn't had the benefit of seeing that sort of download at the end of each program year to understand, what that looks like on the back end. And I know for me personally, if I could have some visibility on that, it would increase my confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be happy to know that we've instituted a reporting system that's electronic now. In the earlier years, that was not the case, but we're basically taking all of that information and then adding it to what we're already tracking internally, electronically, and so we're going to put that together and make a presentation on the impact of BOLD, particularly on the return on investment for city dollars. So one of the things that we always went through every partner with is to make sure that they understood and that we were confident that these dollars would serve City of Birmingham residents. All of these organizations could potentially serve outside of City of Birmingham, but we were very, very rigorous to make sure that they understood that these dollars can only be for City of Birmingham employees, City of Birmingham residents. And so we have all of that data that we're more than happy to share at the appropriate time. And we're actually about to end the cycle from last year in December, so we'll be back to make that presentation on the data part of that. So that's no problem.
Thank you.
So I guess if that's something more of a request or included in the contract, would that be like every January to get an update on the end of the cycle report? And we don't have to put that in a contract, but even if you just send that information to Madam President's office and she can give it to us,
okay,
I think that'll help out.
And I'll also note to that in their contract, they do, we started this last year, they come back at the halfway point during Economic Development Committee to make a presentation. So if you recall, this year in May, they came back and made that presentation on the update. So December will end their performance agreement, and then we'll come back in January for a full update. So.
Okay, if you could do it for committee of the whole, because all of us can't make all these committee meetings, I think that would be very good. Okay. Councilor Abbott.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, the program's been going on for 4 years, and I don't have a clue whether it's successful or not. We hadn't heard from y'all in 4 years, except that you come back and ask for money. So what is the percentage of success that we've had so far, and why is nothing reported back to the council? I mean, we've talked about getting some reporting now, but 4 years is a full term on the council. It's a full term for a mayor. So I'm just curious to know, I mean, all these organizations sound really good, but I'm wondering, do we ever have an entity that doesn't do well, or is everything just coming up roses.
Would administration like to address that first? Nope, okay. All right.
So what I can share is like the information that we're gathering. More than happy to share that on the success of the program. We're still gathering what we were not able to do electronically up until this point. So we're gathering both of those pieces of data, and more than happy to share what the success looks like. I will say to date we have not had anyone that's not been successful, and that's primarily because we go through the rigor of making sure that they understand when they enter into this agreement we expect full really transparency and success. So I can't say that we've not had anyone that has not been successful. Now I will caveat that with I got here in 2020, so I can't speak to 2018 or 2019 on that, but for the times that I've been here, we've not had that case yet.
Well, that's good. Well, it takes a while to ramp up, and I'm sure that like this year you're having the online form for people to fill out, so I'm sure you're making improvements every year and tweaking it. But, we approve these requests, and then we don't really know what happens to them. We don't know whether they've had fabulous success or they went out of business. We just don't know. And the other question is, are all of these businesses located in the city of Birmingham?
They are either located in the city of Birmingham, or they focus primarily on the city of Birmingham. I will say all of them have to have a city of Birmingham business license. And so even if they are not physically located in the city, we do still require that we track them by the city of Birmingham business license. So we only have one organization that has a virtual headquarters that is outside of the city. The rest of them actually have a physical location in the city of Birmingham. So while they don't have a physical location, they primarily serve the residents of Birmingham through a virtual office.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. I was trying to see because I thought administration may have given us an update. But I know Ed Farm, is this their second year?
Yes.
Second year. I know from they did last year, and they have done great things with the youth and the adults. So I know that's at least one organization that has always done well.
Madam.
So yes, Mayor Woodfin.
Madam Chairwoman, first, thank you all for listening to all the presentations and the questions, and thanks for Mr. Hauser for explaining the program. I just have two quick notes. Prior to BOLD, there was no process. We gave money to organizations. We, as in the city of Birmingham, not this administration, but just gave money to organizations. And there are many people who are aware of that. And so we appreciate we were intentional. We intentionally created a process to actually be accountable with and for tax dollars. In addition to that, although 5 out of 8 of these organizations are new today, like any other year, all of these organizations have existed before BOLD. And so what BOLD simply seeks to do is make sure that we can enhance and support existing community organizations that are making impact work. And we support them with additional taxpayer dollars. But there's a process on the front end, and these organizations exist and continue to move with their mission and their goals, whether they receive BOLD dollars or not, including all the ones that did not receive BOLD dollars, which was probably more than the actual 8. How many applied?
We had 62 applicants.
So I just wanted to provide that context, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Woodfin. Madam President, do you have any questions?
Yes. Sorry, I apologize. I was looking as well. Trying to see any follow-up on communication that we've received before about the program and the success of the program itself. So I would just like to encourage, I know that you're building and that you're putting other parameters in to ensure that the council is updated and made aware. So thank you.
Yes.
Okay. I'm good to go. Can we call up the next business? I know we got about 4 more.
There's 4 more.
We got 4 more. Unless you don't want 4 more approved.
No, let's go. East Lake Initiative. East Lake Initiative is a woman-led 501c3 neighborhood-based organization that provides holistic community development to create better circumstances for families of East Lake. BOLD is supporting the East Lake Initiative's Hustle Micro Grant Program, which will support small businesses and minority, women, disadvantaged businesses in East Lake and Woodlawn with 100 coaching sessions, 25 grants of $1,000 to start in-home businesses as well. I'll call up the East Lake Initiative as well, and you guys should be familiar with them because they also help with our Embrace Mothers program as well that the city runs. So they, again, are a really great partner to the city of Birmingham.
Good afternoon. I'm Myron Thomas.
Speaking of which, how is the Embracing Mothers program doing?
The Embrace, I apologize. The Embrace Mothers program, we did the administrative portion, but I understand we still have some follow-up meetings, and I understand it's been going well.
Okay, good. I was just wondering. Committee members, Madam President?
Yes, looking at the scope of this particular one, this is unique in that you're working with individuals for start in-home businesses. So tell me, would the success be that I have an idea that I can, as an entrepreneur, that I can build from inside my home, or are there certain categories of type business ideas that you're looking for?
Well, there's an application process that these budding entrepreneurs have to go through. They're vetted. We're actually partnered with ACES, the Alabama County Extension, as well as the Salvation Army, and we have an incubator, a 6-week incubator class that's conducted at least 3 times a year. That's our goal for 2023. We'll have at least 3 of those incubator classes, and basically they'll come, they'll fill out the application. That's when we screen them to see if they are truly working toward a business, and if so, they take the class, and when they get toward graduation, if we see they're really serious after getting a business plan, that's when they can be awarded up to the $1,000, their micro grant.
And one other question. Your target audience, again, is this like a micro business? I think that's 1 to 5, or is that a true small business, like 5 and up? Do you have any criteria that they have to meet in order, what type business level they're in when it comes under the category of a small business?
Most of these small businesses are anything from lawn care, beautician school, okay. Barber, beautician. They're truly small businesses.
Perfect. Thank you. That's my only question. Thank you.
Councilor Abbott.
Thank you. I'm interested to know what the Salvation Army does to help with your program.
The Salvation Army, and this is a Campus of Hope location, primarily provides the building. Of course, they have a great campus. They have a great classroom area for them, and then they also help provide a lot of the advertising for us as well. So between the Alabama County Extension, between us, they are just really a partner that can host the building, as well as, like you said, getting the word out.
Okay, thank you. And remind me, the Community Resource Development, who is that?
That's the Alabama County Extension Service, ACES. That's who that is.
Oh, that's ACES.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I know ACES' name, but I didn't relate it to Community Resource Development. But anyway, thank you.
How many businesses are you looking to help? Like, what's your goal number?
For this, it's 25 businesses.
I don't know if somebody asked, is it a particular type of business other than being in home? Are you looking for like, I don't know, like a marketing or jewelry, or what kind of?
I double checked some of the businesses that were created just here recently this year. Mm-hmm. We had Magic City Counseling. We had a photo booth business, a cheerleading business that was started, a tech education business, as well as a baking company. So there are various businesses that are started. And recently we had a lawn care business as well.
I need the name of the lawn care business. Well, I think that's great because I think a lot of businesses were birthed out of COVID. I could see a lot of those being virtual, especially counseling. I know Ed Farm came, but maybe they can go to that tech education program first and then go to Ed Farm. So that's great. Councilor Quinn, did you have any questions? You're good? Okay. Thank you. Next business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next one is Diane's Heart. Diane's Heart is a Black and woman-led 501c3 neighborhood-based organization that was started in Inslee and continues to hold events in Inslee Entertainment District with the mission to help single moms raise above statistics of poverty by providing support system and access to financial resources. Bold Funding is supporting the She Knew There Was More coaching and mentoring program, which will provide workforce development and resources to overcome barriers to 40 single mothers through professional coaching, guidance on setting goals, and access to scholarships. So I'll call up reps from Diane Hart.
Hello, I'm Tanya Hill Allen, Executive Director of Diane's Heart.
Okay. Committee members, Councilor Abbott. Do you have any questions?
I do. This is for single mothers, but what happens to the single fathers?
So that is not our mission. We focus on single mothers, specifically to target actually the next generation, their children. So everything that we have is focused on the single mothers in our program.
Okay, well, I meant single fathers who were raising their children alone without a partner. Like
that's not within our scope.
They just have to have their own program.
I think, Mayor Whiffen, what was the percentage? Like 60% of households are single mothers?
It's 72%.
Oh, I was wrong. Okay, 72. Yeah. Well, you know, maybe this is something we can take this program and then next year we can use it for single fathers for another organization.
Yeah. So it's 72% single family households, but 65% are female.
Okay.
That's what the data supports, and so that's what our focus is.
Okay. I feel sorry for the guys that are trying to raise their kids too. You know, they struggle also, and so I just wondered. But if they can't, they can't. So exactly, like, will this be done in group settings? Will you have big meetings with all the single moms and talk about, you know, issues, or is it one-on-one? Kind of tell us a little bit about how it works.
Okay, it's 2 phases. The first phase is our mindset coaching. We have professional, actually master certified professional coaches and counselors who provide weekly, what we call coaching salons to our moms. They also are required to complete our learning management system. Each week they get a module of those 9 weeks in the coaching, and it's focused on topics that we have designed in the curriculum, like financial education. They have assignments also that connect to each module. So there's in the mindset coaching, we talk about limiting beliefs to overcome barriers, financial management, again, parenting skills. But the end of the program, of the coaching program, is focused on learning how to set goals. And so they have to complete that particular, those 3 weeks of the coaching program in order to go to the second phase, which is the mentoring. So based on what they list for goals, which generally are things like buying their first homes, going back to school, starting a business. We've had moms who wanted to go pursue certifications to be realtors, you name it. So we let their goal be the focus, and we provide resources and support to help them reach that goal. So once they complete that, they are admitted into the mentoring. And so we match mentors based on those goals so that we can resource those moms in order to reach the goal. So that's the focus, is that when they complete the coaching and the mentoring, they have reached those goals. Now, some are big goals, so we don't expect for them to completely complete them. So we still monitor them. They come into our online community, and so we also support them through that online community. Anybody who goes through our program, whether they graduate or not, we stay connected with them. Our goal is to look, years out to see what impact we were able to provide to them and to the community.
So if you had a person who maybe, bombed out after the goal setting and didn't get to the mentoring, could they get their act together and come back again when they're more prepared?
Mm-hmm. So we stay in connection with them. We bring them into the next cohort because our program is very structured and we provide support around exactly what they need. We also have wraparound services, so if someone we know is struggling, they may need counseling, which is outside of the scope of coaching. So we also have licensed practicing counselors that we can also refer them to. And then if it does require coaching, we will also work with them to figure out what's the roadblock, how can we help them so that they're prepared to commit in the next cohort.
Good. And the burning question that always hits single mothers is, what about their children while they're attending this? Is there any assistance for them, if they don't have somebody to take their children for them while they're in class?
So it's virtual.
Oh, it's
and
virtual.
That is one of the reasons, because of the time commitment. Packing up 2-3 kids, trying to get them somewhere takes time. And so the pandemic, we thought dimmed us a little bit because we were trying to push out during the pandemic, but the virtual switch for us, going into virtual mode, actually helped our constituents. So the coaching is one night a week, 7 to 8 p.m. They know it, it's calendared, and then we do provide activities for the children to keep them preoccupied while the mom is on the call. But the children can attend the calls as well. So we've had babies sitting in the laps. It's just life. We do life with them to make it convenient for them.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yes. Madam President, did you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, just one. How would you advertise this service to the single moms?
So right now we have a wait list, and so that's why it's so important for us to really secure funding, or the program kind of took off on its own by word of mouth. We also have events. December we have our Operation Secure the Bag event, which is one of our catchment opportunities. So we give away handbags in that event, stuff with all the things the moms need. And so we really, really promote at that event. We will be promoting at that event, not just for the first cohort. We'll have a second cohort in 2023 as well.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay. Thank you. Next business.
Our next business is the Birmingham Business Alliance, the Chamber of Commerce. As you may know, the Birmingham Business Alliance has reinstituted the Chamber of Commerce, and so as a part of that program, we are supporting, or we're requesting the support to work and enhance the BizHub, which is a digital network of partners and professionals, including registering 60 businesses, 30 legacy businesses, and 30 minority-led businesses within the network. This program will also help distribute legacy business decals, surveys to legacy businesses to determine their current needs and provide support businesses across all of Bowl's geographic priority areas, including facilitating a connection between Ed Farm graduates and legacy businesses, particularly in the 4th Avenue Business District. So I will call up, there's Nan Baldwin with Chamber and Emily.
Hello, I'm Nan Baldwin, and I'm the president of Chamber and Advocacy with the Birmingham Business Alliance.
Good afternoon, Emily Jerkins Hall, president and COO of the Birmingham Business Alliance.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Abbott.
This looks like you have lots of partnerships. And it also looked like most of the money was going to the partners. So is that just to get the chamber up and running, and since we haven't had one for a long time, or?
No, this program is specifically for what's being called the Business Navigator System, and it's a network navigator where what we find, and since we've relaunched the Chamber, is that small and medium-sized businesses and even entrepreneurs and startups have a hard time trying to connect with the services they need, understanding what those resources are and finding out about those resources. So this system that we're putting in place is a digital platform that will provide the information that those small businesses and entrepreneurs and startup businesses need in order to help them understand where to go for those resources, and help them navigate through this whole world of where do I go, like for business licensing, where do I go to get my business plans, where do I, so it's a lot of questions that small and medium-sized businesses may not know, and so that's what this system is all about. But no, it's not to relaunch or support the Chamber specifically. It's for a program within the Chamber.
Okay, so the Business Navigator System, is that going to help with the complaint that we hear sometimes from existing businesses that y'all pay all the attention to the new businesses and us old businesses are just forgotten in the dust? Is this going to cheer them up and make them feel like they're being focused on?
It will definitely support what you're talking about, Councilor Abbott. What we also find is that there's been a gap in our city for the last, I would say, 10 years, where these small and medium-sized businesses don't necessarily have the support systems that they need in order to grow and scale. So this Navigator system will help them find those resources. And so the partners that we have listed that will be working with us will help us to find out where all those resources are located and then put them in this digital navigating system so that when those small and medium-sized businesses, entrepreneurs, startups are looking for those services, then they'll be able to go to this digital network system.
Good. Sounds like a good plan. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm good with the questions. You don't have any? Councilor Quinn.
While you're up here, I just had to check the website, but am I correct in saying that there's still a vacancy in the CEO position at BBA?
I'll let Emily address that.
Good afternoon. Right now, interim leadership, Christy Hollingsworth and I are serving as co-CEO and have over the past 9 months. The executive committee, which is led by Greg Curran, is currently in the process of evaluating what we need in permanent leadership and what our next steps will be. As with all of our partners, Mayor Woodfin sits on our executive committee, and we'll be sure to communicate next steps. But we've got a really great team. We're really great at navigating transitions, and so we're excited. Our strategy and our plan will not change, and so this program will be supported and successful regardless of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next business.
Thank you.
All right, our final partners, Birthwell Partners. Birthwell Partners is a woman-led 501c3 organization that seeks to improve maternal and infant health and by extension financial health for families in Birmingham's under-resourced neighborhoods and by building a diverse workforce of skilled doulas for marginalized communities. The BOLD funding will support Birthwell Partners program to train 32 doulas and to provide birth doula services to 130 families across Birmingham with an emphasis on Eastlake, North Birmingham, Smithfield, and Illaton. So I will call up our partners from Birthwell.
Hi, I'm Susan Petrus. I'm the business director.
I'm Dahlia Abrams. I'm programs director.
Susan, what was your last name again?
Petrus.
Committee members, do you have any questions, Madam President?
Well, this is another innovative program that I'm seeing. I don't know, is this your first application for a BOLD grant?
I think we've actually applied one other time a few years ago.
First time you made it this far.
Yes.
Good. So I did notice how many, did you define how many you're trying to employ or who would be a part of the program, how many doulas are you trying to get into the program or have part of the program?
Right. So this will cover training 32 new doulas.
32.
And we will have some contract doulas as well.
Okay, thank you. It's my only question. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Abbott and then Councilor O'Quinn.
So since you're focusing on low-income areas of town, you're going to train 32 or find 32 people that want to be doulas, and then, but also aren't there services for women who live in those disadvantaged areas to receive the services of doulas? And will the doulas be who are giving them the services be ones that you have in training?
Yes, that's our program model that we've had for the last 11 years. We're increasing the number and diversity of doulas. We're training new doulas as part of their hands-on experience. They're providing services to families who need those services.
And how are you going to find the families that need the services? Is it that they volunteer, or do you go out and find them?
We do a lot of outreach efforts, and we get referrals from doctors and organizations in the community, and we've been doing this for 11 years, and this actually the past 6 months or so we had more people reach out to us than we could serve, and that's part of why this is really important for us. Unlike the program before us, we can't have a wait list because they have their baby.
You got 9 months to find them. Okay, thank you very much.
Councilor O'Quinn.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about infant mortality in Jefferson County. It's something that I've heard, some concern about in particularly UAB's School of Public Health. And so give me a little feedback on that and help me understand, why this is really an important issue.
Sure. So the United States has the highest infant mortality rate among industrialized nations by a very large amount. Alabama, being in the southeast, has one of the highest. I think we kind of go back and forth with Mississippi. I don't have the number off the top of my head for Jefferson County, but we have very high infant and maternal mortality rates. And doulas are not the solution, but definitely a part of the solution. So there's a lot of things that come into this. I give a 3-hour talk on this if you ever want to come. Actually, it's, 3-hour talk on this. A lot of things feed into this. One of the things that feeds into this is people not being heard when they're reaching out for help. And so a doula is a really important person who walks alongside a pregnant person and in the postpartum period and helps that person reach out for help and make sure that they're heard. So that affects the care that they get during their pregnancy and postpartum and the care that their baby gets. I hope that kind of answers your question.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Let me say this. I'm not against doulas being used or anything like that, but my biggest concern is the liability for the city, right? And, in my defense, I've seen hospitals where maybe that person, something happens to the baby or they don't feel like it was the best care, and the hospital got sued and the hospital lost. And so I guess my question is the liability of the city. How are we going to protect ourselves, even if it is in the contract?
So doulas are not medical professionals, and they don't do anything that's medical. So I don't know if that addresses your main concern about liability.
No, because people will sue over tripping over the carpet. So
I'm going to let Keith Sheffield, who worked on the agreements, try to provide some clarity in a response to that.
And are the doulas, they're not city employees. They're going to be employed by the... Right. Okay.
Keith Sheffield, Office of the City Attorney. I think that the response that they gave is probably the most accurate. They're not performing medical services on the people that they're assisting with.
Okay. But is there a parachute in the contract just in case? Yeah, just to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have in the agreement, there are indemnification provision or standardized indemnification other provisions in the agreement that's before you.
Okay, thank you. And where did we get the numbers from? Did we partner with the Jefferson County Department of Health to get the numbers for determining which areas we're going to go into? So let me ask it better. So I want to know, did they say, okay, and what is it? Smithfield and Elenton, this is where it's the highest compared to West End and Roosevelt City.
So we chose North Birmingham because we already have a relationship with Arms Clinic there. A lot of the patients at Arms Clinic are residents of Lovelady Center in Eastlake, so we also chose Eastlake. We're doing childbirth classes at Olivia's house, also in Eastlake. We do our doula trainings in Eastlake. Some of our other referral sources. We looked at the zip codes that we've historically served, and then Smithfield, Ellington was another primary area that we found that we were serving.
Okay, I guess it's okay, because it could be other, I'm not even talking about my district, it could be other areas of town that maybe need it a little bit more than maybe the targeted ones. I guess, how are we going to address that?
Yeah, so I think the geographic priority areas are sort of where they will make some emphasis to reach out, but they will serve the entire city. Okay. And so they won't turn away any other offers, or if something comes in from another area, they're not going to turn that away. But because they had a very strong relationship in these areas already, we wanted to be able to amplify that with this particular program. But they're going to serve all of Birmingham as they come in.
Okay. Counselors know Counselor Tay is looking to do a partnership with the Aspen Institute, and that's literally what they do. They show you the numbers of where, if it's infant mortality is maybe significant in those other cities. So if we do have a partnership, hopefully we can use those numbers and be more targeted. That's just something. Okay. Any other questions for this business?
Well, I just want to say that looking at the program, perhaps if this one is, we approve this one, that gives an opportunity for growth into those other zip codes, or as word of mouth, because we also have residents who may not understand or are seeking this type of support during pregnancy. So this opens an opportunity to give this to other residents through the growth of this program, and they see the success of it. And I really like the idea. You're also working with ARMS, other areas. We've got, you have Cahaba Medical, so maybe that growth could come out of having those programs offered to women out of other areas.
Yeah.
Is that something you would be targeting maybe later based on the success of this?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely want to be, we're already working with some of those people, but we just chose 3 primary areas that we want to focus on a little more deeply, but we're not excluding other areas.
Okay. Well, we have to ask, because our residents are going to ask why these 3 areas, but that's good to know. Councilor Quinn.
Sorry, I had another question that I thought of. So talk to me about training about, around lactation. And, one of the things that we see in, especially in communities that qualify for nutritional assistance, is that mothers often opt for formula versus trying to nurse their babies, and there is a difference in the nutritional quality and some of the outcomes. So is that being communicated to your clients?
So a significant part of the training that our doulas get is how to be, to provide support for planning to and succeeding to breastfeed. Our outcomes speak for themselves. Over 90% of our clients begin breastfeeding. We don't have long-term data. We're working on that. This will help us to follow up with families. So we work very hard to encourage people to breastfeed, to support them in breastfeeding, and to train our doulas to provide that kind of support.
Thank you.
And one last question. So I know we wouldn't, if this is approved, we wouldn't be the first city to do this. So have we looked at the success rates of Baltimore and New York? Or do you know, because I looked it up and they also are doing this.
Yeah, New Jersey, New York, there's a number of cities that are doing this, and it's very impactful, but they're just getting started. There's a lot of data on the impact of doulas overall, and they have a huge impact on reducing C-section rates, which reduces the amount of time people spend in the hospital, get them back to work sooner, increasing breastfeeding rates, and our data show that as well. So absolutely, we will follow it, and I think it's a great opportunity for Birmingham to be on a list with New York and New Jersey. And
yeah, I agree. I was very interested to see, especially I think it was New York. They actually had a maternity package where doulas were a part of that. So okay, committee members, do you have any other questions? Councilor Abbott.
Yeah, just one more, and I'll admit that of all the awardees, this was the one that sort of made me the most nervous because of the liability. The fact that, you're not giving medical advice, but someone could say you gave them some medical advice and then they could sue. And our contract says that we're going to be held, harmless or whatever. And we all know that, there are a whole bunch of law firms that advertise on TV all the time that will be glad to take the case. And $1 million is what we require in insurance. I think that's the minimum you can have. But, $1 million doesn't go very far these days. And I just wonder if that's enough. I mean, we think we've protected ourselves, but, these lawyers...
Can you repeat the question?
No offense intended.
Medical liability insurance.
I'm talking about if a client said that they gave them medical advice and somehow, what I've always heard from attorneys is sue everybody. Some of it'll stick, and I'm just concerned about the city's involvement. So I just want to know if $1 million insurance is enough for us to require, and if putting it in our contract that we're not liable is enough to keep us from getting sued and having somebody win because they're pitiful and we're the big rich city.
The question is $1 million enough? Do I have the question right?
Yeah, $1 million.
Yes.
The answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay.
He's also an attorney. So.
Yeah, maybe you could explain why that's enough. Do we have to go back in the back hall to talk about why $1 million is sufficient, or can you tell me?
I will allow Attorney Sheffield to elaborate as much as he would like.
He probably doesn't want to say anything.
No, this agreement, we talked about what the provision of services is. And our indemnification provisions that are in the agreement are standardized throughout all city contracts. And that's, we have obviously some sovereign immunity as a subdivision of the state. We have the indemnification provisions in the agreement. I can't speak to the percentage or the likelihood of litigation over these services versus any other services that the city contracts for. But in terms of contractual protection, we do have the indemnification provisions in there, as well as obviously sovereign immunity.
Okay. So y'all have great confidence that we're well protected.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Committee members, do you have any other questions about any of these items? Councilors? Okay. All right, thank you. So I move to approve item number 4, and that's the one with the Birmingham Business Alliance to support the city's Legacy Biz program for an amount not to exceed $110,000.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
One abstention. Okay, well that item passes with one abstention from Madam President. Okay. I move to approve item number 5, that's the Birthwell Partners with the doula services for an amount not to exceed $121,806.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. That item passes. Item number 6 is for Diane's Heart, and this is for an amount not to exceed $98,450.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. That item passes. Item number 7, this is for Ed Farm to provide IT work training for underemployed adults and youth for an amount not to exceed $135,200.
Move that. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. That item passes. Item number 8 is with East Lake Initiative. This to help small business owners to start in-home businesses for an amount not to exceed $84,250.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Item number 9 is with Is Able Ministries to help individuals with disabilities for an amount not to exceed $75,000.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Item number 10, this is for Rebirth Community Corporation for an amount not to exceed $148,500.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. And last one, item number 11, this is for the Surge Project to help adults ages 18 through 35 with conflict resolution. This is for an amount not to exceed $8,800.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. That item passes. So items 4 through 11 have passed.
Madam Chairwoman.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
And while I'm approaching, may the bowl recipients be excused.
Yes. Bowl recipients, thank you so much for your time and patience. Okay, this one's 21. Okay, this one. Yeah, 21. Mayor Wolfen, can you come back? Okay. Okay. Message of 17 and 21. There's a meeting at 6. Let's carry away.
Oh, yeah, we do need to talk about that one.
Okay. Well, hello? Okay. Well, we're going to bring up items 17 and 21 together. I know we have staff members that are staying overtime. So item number 17, an ordinance to further amend the COVID state and local fiscal recovery fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023 by appropriating $7,128,048 to competitive grant match, $3,946,772 to administrative costs, $4 million to Caraway demolition site, $10 million to Affordable Housing Trust Fund, $1 million to Healthy Food Initiatives, and $15 million to Enterprise Resource Planning System per funds received from the American Rescue Plan Act. Is there a motion?
Move the item.
Second. And then we're going to bring up also item 21, an amended and restated redevelopment project and funding agreement with Northside Redevelopment LLC, pursuant to which Northside Redevelopment LLC will redevelop the former Caraway Memorial Hospital campus and certain adjoining parcels through the construction of a mixed-use development, which is expected to cost of single-family and multifamily residential, hotel, retail, office, and entertainment facilities at an estimated cost of $340 million. And the city will provide certain economic development incentives to Northside Redevelopment LLC in connection with the project in an amount not to exceed $12,350,000, consisting of the following. Number 1, an initial cash cash incentive of $4,100,000 already paid to Northside Redevelopment LLC for land acquisition, demolition, and other blight removal activities. Number 2, a supplemental cash incentive of $3,700,000 from ARPA funds in the form of a forgivable loan for completion of the demolition and blight removal phase of the project. And number 3, up to $4,550,000 in incentive based on future sales, use, and property tax revenues generated to the city from the project.
Move the item.
Second. Chief
Yeah,
or Mayor?
Before the mayor speaks on item number 17, we just need to correct the amount. It should be $3.7 million for Caraway demolition site remediation.
Okay.
I can't hear.
He said, can you repeat that?
Yes, item number 17, the fourth line from the top. That should be $3.7 million for Caraway demolition, and not $4 million.
Okay. Thank you. So, Chief or Mayor, take it away.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman and Council, other committee members and members of the whole, thank you all for your patience today, and thank you for allowing these 2 items to go out of order. Recall 17, as Ms. Amelia and her other team members approach. Item 17 has 6 appropriation items, but 1 is attached to item 21. So, and I guess in the best case, what team members will do is give an overview of item 17, and then we will go into detail any of those 6 items. However, with one of those items being attached to 21, if that's the one that pleases this body first, that's what we'll discuss, and then we can do the others as well.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Amelia Muller, I serve as Civic Design Principal in the Mayor's Office. So I'm here to speak to item 17 and the related item 21. Before you are ARPA State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund budget allocations. We've, of course, spoken about ARPA many times over the last several months. I'll provide a high-level overview, then happy to answer deep dive questions to the best of my ability, and also bring up colleagues to answer those questions as well. Again, item 17 is merely the budget allocation, moving the funds over from the top line ARPA State and Local GL to create specific GLs for those projects. These items will come back before Budget and Finance and other committees as those projects are actually developed. So, sorry, Mayor, did you? Okay, so the first item before you is competitive grant match. So that is a funding amount of a little over $7 million. That is coming from our revenue loss recovery sub-allocation under ARPA. That is an allowable use for many but not all federal grant programs. So this is essentially to ensure that we're competitive for grant applications under ARPA, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and Inflation Reduction Act. The second is administrative support so that we can move all of these ARPA projects faster, more efficiently, inclusive of projects that you all have surfaced for your district and that you've worked closely with our team to develop. The third item is an enterprise resource planning system. This proposal will provide, in essence, a sort of full suite business solution that combines the city's accounting, tax and licensing, permitting, human resources, purchasing, project management, contract administration, and business analytics services into a comprehensive platform. And my colleagues can speak in more detail about the nuances of that. But essentially reflects an investment in our efficiency, accountability, and overall compliance efficiency. The next item is related to healthy food access. So we are looking to make investments in healthy food access projects beyond traditional grocery store recruitment and retention incentives, which have come before this body before. We've been working throughout our food access ecosystem to surface projects, working with many of the counselors on the dais to surface projects in your districts, but also to identify other ways that we can be supportive of urban agriculture and other programs that support healthy food access in neighborhoods. Next is an allocation to create an affordable housing trust fund. The nuances of that will take some time to develop, but we want to be proactive about reserving these funds to create new single-family and multifamily homes in Birmingham throughout our neighborhoods, and to create new tools to finance those projects through an affordable housing trust fund. And lastly, an allocation to support demolition and site remediation at the Caraway site. So as the mayor spoke to, this is the one item on this list that actually does have a project attached to it, which you will hear in item 21. The others are merely those budget allocations as I spoke to before. So with that high-level overview, happy to answer questions and bring up colleagues.
Yes, I also want to note that Chris Hatcher, last Friday, committee member, sent us a 2-page document with a little bit more detail, and I just sent the councilors this today. So,
thank you.
Yes.
And I do have hard copies if anybody needs one of those.
Okay. Committee members, do you have any questions about any of the items listed? But we can also go straight to number.
Yeah, I do have a question about the $3.7 million going to the Caraway demolition, since we already put $4.1 million into the Caraway demolition. How much does the Caraway demolition cost in total?
That's it.
Yeah. What?
Madam Chairwoman, if it's okay with you, related to Ms. Abbott's question, I think that's not only a fair question, I think this will be a great time to allow Corporate Realty to
that's fine.
Flank any city team members that may have some additional context. But I think Corporate Realty is in the best position to present to this body and this committee some detail about that, and starting with that question or going out big frame and coming in. It doesn't matter which way they decide, but I think that's a good point.
Okay. Well, you don't go too far, because I'm sure we have more questions.
Good evening, councilors. Melissa Smiley from the Office of the Mayor. I want to just introduce to you some of the representatives that are here. You know Mr. Robert Simon. He's here to speak on behalf of this project, the Caraway project. And I want to give you the bigger frame. In December of 2020, this council approved an agreement with Northside Redevelopment for the demolition of many of those buildings and the redevelopment into a multi-purpose site. That demolition is underway right now. So many of you saw it last week on the tour. That demolition is anticipated to continue. The developer has notified us that they do have a shortfall. They've approached the city and requested the additional $3.7 million. And I want to point out to you that in the agreement that's before you, what we've done is recommended the additional $3.7 million, but we've also reduced the future revenue incentive in half. It was initially a $9 million future revenue share with this developer, and it's now reduced to $4.5 million. And so there are some other issues that are addressed there, but I just wanted to give you that frame. I'd like for the developer to come up and provide you an update on both the demolition and that demolition budget.
I also think from a financial cost, when you consider, or you're considering this, is that in the original agreement that's now before you to be amended, I know, Mr. Chairman of Transportation, there are several parking decks on this site. One of those decks, the city of Birmingham in the original agreement was supposed to acquire. However, that acquiring that parking deck would have had a significant financial cost. And so as we figure that out, we're discussing the future of that. It's not finalized yet in the sense of direction, but I think Brian and the team can explain more.
Thank you. Hey, Brian Wolf with Corporate Realty. Thank you all for spending an evening with us. Back in December of 2020, we purchased the Caraway site, as y'all know, and began what is the city's largest urban redevelopment and blight removal project to date. We're very excited to be a part of that. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges that come with that, but we're very excited about the progress we've made to date. In fall of 2021, we spent approximately $500,000 on underground storage tank removal, cleaning up illegal dumping on the site, fencing the site, cleaning up a lot of the old landscaping that had become overgrown over 15 years of just abatement and just being vacant and not very well cared for by the previous owner. And you'll see some results from that on page 4 of this packet that was passed out to you. If you'll turn over to page 6, it's kind of a visual demonstration of what we have done to date. As Ms. Smiley had mentioned, we are wrapping up the first phase of demolition this month. So we'll be done with that in early December. And that is the demolition of the buildings in red, which are buildings 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 13, and 14. And then we did an interior clean out on building 5 because we will adaptively reuse that building in the redevelopment of the project. That involved hazardous material abatement, demolition, and interior clean out. So that is wrapping up this month. You should have been receiving monthly reports from us via email about the demolition. If you have not, please let me know. Be happy to check on that. But we've got everybody's email addresses, and I'm assuming we usually towards the end, last week of the month, we send those out. And they have both the narrative portion and then some pictures as well. As Ms. Smiley said, we are ready to start the second phase of demolition, which is on page 7 of your packet. That will be the demolition of buildings 9, 10, and 12, as well as the clean out of buildings 11 and 4, which we will adaptively reuse later in our redevelopment plan. Again, hazardous material abatement in those buildings, then demolition, and then interior clean out as well. And then to answer your question, Councilor Abbott, on page 8 of this packet is our detailed budget of both the acquisition and demolition phase of our project. There's obviously the acquisition cost and all of the costs to acquire, including all the due diligence we had to do to run through numerous, liens that we had to spend over a year abating, and just the carrying cost of running through that with our consultants over that period of time. You also note at the bottom, we have not spent one dime on ourselves. We've spent over $2 million in overhead of our own personnel in-house on this project that we have not paid ourselves on so far to date. So our total investment is a little over $12 million right now into this project. The city was kind enough to grant us $4.1 million to complete phase 1, and we're ready to start phase 2 of demolition, which will really get us back to the first stages of redevelopment. We hope to wrap that up in April of this year, and then come immediately out of the ground with some of the newer projects that are detailed on the very last page of your handout. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Madam President.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the additional information because this, I wanted to ask, and Councilor Abbott started the question of what quantifies or what is made up of the 3.7 request. And I just wanted to ask, so when the original project was started, now that we have these other, was this not a part of the phase 1 and 2, or did phase 2 come up because of what you found during phase 1?
Yeah, there were some additional expenses that were found during phase 1, but we also very much knew going through phase 1 that we're going to have some additional expenses potentially for phase 2. We have quite a bit of a hazardous material abatement that we have to go through to rehabilitate buildings 11 and building 4, as well as some demolition cost increases due to labor cost increases, quite frankly. And so that 3.7 will allow us to finish the demolition phase of this project, get us back to basically square one on this project, and begin to coming out of the ground with our financing and deals that we've got enumerated on the very last page. And we've phased those out, and those match our development agreement with the city.
So let me just be sure that I'm clear then. Phase 1, you did have an interior cleanup
Yes,
of
ma'am.
building 5.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we say interior cleanup, is that where you have to do the abatement, like asbestos and that type of removal?
Yes, ma'am.
And then that allows you to continue with the demolition?
Yes, ma'am, and there's a good picture on page 9 in the center of the page, Building 5. That's post-clean out, so that's demoing the building back to its structure, which is steel in this case, and allows us to come back in and reset that building either as entertainment or office or a mix of both.
And I'll come back later because I do want to ask about the parking deck. I know when we were first introduced to the project, we thought that the use of some of the existing parking decks would help with the cost of the project and the overall end of the project. So I'll save that to come back later and ask that as far as incentives and how that goes into the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Abbott.
Okay, well, now I've seen what the cost of demolition is supposed to be. And frankly, when I saw this request for more money, I was wondering whether this was a City of Birmingham project or whether it was a developer's project. Because it seems like we're packing a lot of money, almost as much money as we had to give away when we had the Regions Field debacle. So I'm very sensitive about $8 million, tags. And what I want to know is if you decided tomorrow not to do this project and to sell the property and cut your losses, would the city get back its money? I would be asking whoever wants to answer.
Well, I'm happy to answer on behalf of the developer. Yes, we have a clawback in our current agreement with the city if we do not complete certain phases of the project. Not only complete them, but complete them in a timely manner.
Okay,
we have to repay if we don't meet those obligations.
Yeah, so we would get our 4.1.
If we sold it, the following developer would have to.
Would come back to the city of
Yes,
Birmingham.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this would be a question for, not for the developer, but do we have a transparency form on Northside Development?
I'm pretty sure we do,
Okay.
it should be in the packet. But I'll get with Mr. Stanley.
Was it in this packet or another packet?
It should have been in the original agreement from 2020.
It was 2020.
That in 2020, but I will verify with Mr. Stanley.
Somebody just send it to me because obviously I missed it.
Yes, ma'am.
It's in there. Okay.
Okay, good. Well, that's all my questions for the moment. I just want to know that the citizens of Birmingham are covered so that we don't get stuck like we have been stuck in the past. If anything goes wrong, because Live Nation is in hot water and we don't know what will happen to them. And if the amphitheater doesn't happen, then what happens to the project? There are lots of questions. Live Nation just stepped in it, or Ticketmaster stepped in it for Live Nation. And now the focus is on them like a laser beam. So it just makes me wonder, where we're going to end up.
Yes, ma'am, that's a great question. We recognize that this is a very large investment on behalf of the city, but what I will say, it's the largest redevelopment project in the history of the city, and it's a $346 million redevelopment. And that $346 million is just our development cost to redevelop the project. It does not take into account ad valorem taxes, sales taxes that'll be generated here, occupational taxes that'll be generated here by people that are going to be working here, that are be new to the city. So there's quite an economic impact that goes along with that scale of development.
Madam Chairwoman, I do want to remind this body in the original agreement, Ms. Smiley just brought it to my attention. In 2020, when you all approved it at the special call and Budget Finance Committee back Monday, December 28th of 2020, so literally almost 2 years ago, the total economic development incentive package that the city was in for was $13.2 million. With this amended agreement that actually also includes the $3.7 million from ARPA, because we cut down on the future base incentives that both parties have agreed to, you actually come in $1 million less of $12.35. So it comes in at 12.35, all in. City's contribution, that is. Just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you.
So I just looked up your October report. The last building is scheduled to be demolished in 8 weeks. So will that mean, when will you start, I guess, was it the first stages of redevelopment?
Of redevelopment?
Yeah.
It'll be this spring.
It'll be this spring? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
When is the, because I know things got pushed back, when is the project supposed to be completed now?
We hope to, if you'll look on the very last page, page 10, phase 1 projects we will be delivering between 24 and 25, years 2024 and 2025. Phase 2 will be between 2025, 2026, and then phase 3 and 4 will probably be in subsequent years. I think the way things will be going, I think we'll be able to complete everything, frankly, by 27. We feel very confident in the way things are moving.
And do you anticipate, due to inflation, any additional costs that may come?
Not at this time. We feel like, not to get into interest rate talk, but we do feel like the Federal Reserve's got several more hikes before they finish. And that certainly impacts us on a financing side. But we do feel like economically there is a strong amount of interest here, and there has been for some time. But we do, as Councilor Abbott mentioned, we are very much aware of the deal with Live Nation and are very much trying to work with the BJCC to make that deal happen. Are very excited about it for our city. But we are also working on 5 other deals on this site at the same time. So if that doesn't happen, we always say one option is not a solution. So we always have to have a plan B if that doesn't work out.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Woods, do you have any questions?
Thank you. I'm back on page 8 and just want to ask for some clarity on, I guess, talking through the budget, because what I'm trying to find is what the overrun is, like, specifically tied to. And so just looking at the original budget versus the revised budget, if you could talk through that.
Yeah, so
I guess just a general reduction in the budget.
Sure. So our general overruns were just costs related to the overall, and I want to make sure that we color the blight removal stage was not only the demolition, the abatement and demolition part of it, was also the acquisition of the property as well. So there were several factors that led to cost increases over time, some of which were labor cost, but we also, if you remember, our original budget was a little over $25 million. When we purchased the property for our demolition budget, we worked very diligently from December of 20 all the way into summer of 21 to really work our demolition costs down and to try to remove about $7.5 million from our budget. And that led us to the current shortfall, which was about 3.7 to date. So demolition cost, I mentioned on the outset, $500,000 was spent on just removing, illegal dumping from the site, fencing the site, just getting the site generally cleaned up because it had been abandoned for 15 plus years. About 5.1 is the demolition abatement budget. And then the balance of that is yet to be done, which is really the site work. So we have a lot of very deep basements on that site, many of which are shoring up surrounding city streets. So we had to have structural engineering involved, so a lot of shoring involved, which I'm sure you can appreciate as being from the general contracting world. So especially along 25th Street and some other areas. So there's going to have to be some shoring placed back in to make sure that we're done correctly. That involves our structural engineer, Keith Owens from MBA, is our structural engineer on this job. So bringing Keith in, making sure that once we get these basements exposed, that we can design a shoring solution that'll work long term, have that installed. So all those factors kind of led to an overall cost increase of about $3.7 million. So that's kind of where we are today. That'll allow us to finish up all of phase 2 and be back to ready to get started on redevelopment.
All right, so when you got original budget on here, is this like referencing back to around fourth quarter 2020, like when the original?
Yeah, our original budget was right before we purchased and executed the agreement with the city. We had a budget of about $25.4 million, and we recognized we needed to work very diligently on our demolition budget. We bid this to over 20 different demolition abatement contractors throughout the country. Given the size and scale, it attracted a lot of big demolition contractors, and we were able to get that number down by a little over $7.5 million.
Well, I guess that's the confusing part to me.
Okay.
If you were able to, if you're able to reduce your overall budget, was it never in budget, or were you thinking that?
No, we are now within budget, subject to these cost increases that have led to the ask of $3.7 million. So we got it down to where we are today. The city was kind enough to grant us $4.1 million. The 3.7 that is down on the bottom line in blue is our current shortfall based on our contracted demolition costs. And we phased our demolition into 2 separate projects for that very reason. We didn't want to get out ahead of ourselves. So we've got phase 1 almost complete, and we are almost out of money. So that's the reason we're here today, is to ask for the 3.7.
What's your total revised budget?
It's the 17.943.
And you're adding the general conditions to that?
Well, we're not adding that. That's only added to show our total investment, the $12 million.
Okay.
And so when you add the 12, 4, and 3, you'll get back to the 17.
Okay, so yeah, what I'm trying to understand is you went from a original budget at 25 down to a revised budget at 17. It seems like you'll be gaining, like you'll be having a surplus and not a deficit. And so if I'm missing something.
We do have a contingency in this budget of almost $500,000, and that's just because, as you know, we're doing demolition. Sometimes you run into things that were just unknown. So we do have to maintain a contingency while we're working through the second phase of demolition. We have spent some of those dollars on our current phase of demolition, just running into things that were unforeseen, that the contractor did not anticipate, that we have to take responsibility for as an owner. But we still have a shortfall in order to finish the phase 2 of demolition. We have not let that work because we want to make sure that the city is understanding of where we are and that we need to fund that gap in order to finish the project.
Yeah, I'm still confused, as I said, because going from the 25 original budget.
And we've got it down to 17.9, and that still has a gap.
Right. So I guess, was it always kind of out of whack as far as
No, it's not always been out of whack, but we know going in that we're probably going to be over budget going into the second phase. This is why we parsed our demolition contract into 2 different phases.
So maybe I had to zoom out. So was this part of your phase 1 have overruns into it that ate up?
No, phase 2 will run into some cost overruns, which is kind of highlighted on page 7.
All right, I'm just having trouble marrying up the savings versus the overruns. If the savings are greater than.
Well, we brought the budget down from almost $25.5 million to $17.9 million. And even with that $17.9 million, we have a shortfall of $3.7 million. We're just showing that we're not just in here asking for handouts, that we worked very diligently for over a year to get that number down to what our original budget actually was. That took a lot of work to get to that point.
Thank you.
Okay. So basically, even under the original budget, there was a deficit.
Well, not under our original budget. Under our revised budget, we know we have a deficit now because of where we are in the phasing of demolition. So,
well, I guess if you were still operating under your original budget today, there would be a deficit.
We wouldn't do the project because we wouldn't. That's why we had to work to get to this revised budget, and we've only let part of this revised budget to date. So if we can't get this additional funding, we'll have to stop after phase 1 of demolition and figure out how we're going to fund $3.7 million of additional cost.
Okay, so basically the project, I guess the conditions in 2020 under the original budget, the project was feasible. Conditions today under that same budget, it would not be feasible.
It's feasible with the city's help. Again, it's a $346 million project. The mayor just mentioned the total investment on behalf of the city is a little over 12. That's with a combination of these grants the city's been kind enough to give us, and also the tax abatements, sales and use tax, and some ad valorem tax abatements that'll go into perpetuity or go out, on a time scale based on certain developments happening. So we're very happy with that, and it helps us. It's really a win-win for us because we don't get to take advantage of those tax abatements unless we actually produce, developments that are producing taxes.
All right, I'm with you, I believe, at this point. I do feel better kind of hearing that we are making adjustments to the incentive structure. I would like to ask more about if we could talk through what that incentive structure is and kind of those adjustments as well. But I just want to make sure I understood where you were coming from as far as the
yes, sir.
So I'm with you there now. And then my next question is going to be around the incentive structure. Yeah.
So, Counselor, given that there was such a big ask for this additional demolition, we pushed to look at the overall city investment, and that's why we attacked the future revenue incentive. Initially, it was $9 million. I think I said that earlier. It's now one half of that. Mr. Stanley is here. He put the agreement together for us, and there is language there that will dictate how that incentive would be paid in the future. And if you would like to have more details of that, I'd invite him up to tell you about it.
You want that right now? We can do that.
Yeah.
Stanley?
Good evening. Jim Stanley, Office of the City Attorney. Yeah, so the future revenue comes from a number of sources, and it's all contingent on particular phases and items of development being committed or completed. For example, when they complete there's an attainable housing project, they're eligible for a rebate, if you will, on the construction sales taxes, and then near a property tax rebate from the city's municipal portion of the property taxes, which is just, of course, a portion of their overall taxes, for a period of 10 years. When they do what's designated as block or area A, I know it's in your agreement, then there are also additional abatements there. Once for the construction, again, for sales taxes and for property taxes. Once buildings are put into operation in each of the phases, there's two sets of formulas for rebates of sales taxes generated by those phases.
All right, I don't want you to go deeper than you have to right now. I guess my question is more so around what's changing, like the specifics of what we're changing.
It's basically the incentive payout. So the original agreement had us giving, let me see this. It had us giving, there's several things. The original agreement that when we refinance our CDA funds, we gave $4.1 million, right? It was a cash out. And the second thing we said was $9.1 million in incentives. And then I believe it also involved acquisition of a parking deck, etc. In this amended agreement, we cut the $9.1 million literally in half. Before you, in Section 3, Item 21 for the amended agreement is 4.5. Recall Monday, December 28, 2020, at the Budget Finance Committee, that was approved before the full count. To go before the full council, it was 9.1.
Is that so? Is the reduction spread over like various phases?
Same. It's spread over the same. Yes.
Okay. So you just reduce a certain percentage.
Correct. 50%.
But yeah, like I said, these are pretty impactful projects and the ability to take on, I want to say, these large-scale redevelopment projects in areas that have been, churning along, because Norwood especially has been, I remember 15 years ago that being the next thing to kind of turn, and so you're starting to see some of those things come to fruition, and this project can be a part of that. But I think part of it is just being in the loop with what's happening and those changes, and so I didn't know that the financials on this project had shifted so drastically, and so it was good to get out on site and check that out. And so that was one of the things I think we talked about. The other item was looking at specifically around the participation, minority participation specifically, with basically black businesses being involved in the project. And I think you said you'd be able to speak to that a little bit today as well.
Yeah, happy to. So I believe it's Exhibit E in the agreement.
In your package, you've got participation.
We always do a minority participation plan on all of our projects. We're very proud of that. I think y'all know that we self-publish and self-report on those on a monthly basis when projects are about to let for construction, and then also during construction as we're going through buyout on subcontracts. As y'all know, it's a very time-intensive exercise on minority participation because we're trying to go out and try to match up the different trades for the actual projects we are about to bid. And it takes a lot of going out and doing meet and greets, calling the owners directly, and making sure they're aware of the bid schedule. And it's also about breaking down packages in a way that allow smaller contractors to have opportunities, because not every electrical contractor can bid on a $6 million electrical project. So it's being cognizant of what is needed to maximize participation in different trades, and making sure that we're reaching out directly to those folks that we need those trades on the project, so we can try to maximize participation. You'll see on that agreement, we always review those agreements with the BCIA and try to make sure that they are bought in and are going to be able to support us and help us with the reaching out and trying to get their membership very much involved in our bid schedule. And Michael Bell does a very good job of that with us. And we all are very cognizant of actually signing that agreement and holding each other accountable to making sure that we meet our expectations in those agreements. And traditionally, when we finish a project, we also debrief with Michael and go over what worked, what didn't work, how maybe we can improve it on the next one. We're really trying to advocate for growing minority-owned businesses themselves in Birmingham, Alabama, and not just hire, frankly, straw men who are hiring somebody else to go do the work. We want to build a really solid minority business base and women-owned business base in Birmingham.
Okay, y'all I think you mentioned getting into the next phase of redevelopment in the spring.
Yes.
Where would your bid process start in relation to starting? Like, how much lead time would you have between basically providing bid docs, making those public?
Yeah, traditionally we start that at about the DD phase, about the 50% of documents being complete, because that's traditionally when we have our first touch at the market. So that's when we get out and go execute this agreement. Well, the agreement's already executed with Michael, but go ahead and execute on actually running through the agreement and reaching out to his contacts inside his membership and letting them know kind of the bid schedule for if we have one project, two projects, three projects, what those bid schedules are and what trades will be needed on those projects. And we do that in concert also with going out and procuring a general contractor as well. We try to also reach out to minority general contractors as well and seek them, and then we get their help on trying to get the downstream subcontracts in a level space as well.
Have you, I guess in y'all's experience, because I have a recollection of y'all, doing well in this space on some projects in the past. Do you experience things where there's a delay in subcontractors getting paid, between that GC getting paid and then, another concern is like a unnecessary or extended delay between a GC being paid and then that subcontractor getting paid?
Contractually, we handle that with our AIA contracts with our general contractor. They are required to make immediate payment when we pay them. And if they don't, we can step in and pay the subcontractor directly to avoid situations just like you brought up. Because sometimes Fortunately, all the contractors we've worked with don't do that, but I've heard of many cases where they do, and that can string out a small business and cause a lot of harm. Really cause them to frankly go under because they're not able to pay their laborers and then they have to go elsewhere. So we have never had to step in and make payment directly to a subcontractor because of that clause in our contracts, and we're very cognizant of making sure that particularly smaller DBE contractors are paid in a timely manner. And we also work with them on insurance requirements and other things that are sometimes challenging to smaller contractors. So sometimes it's just getting the scope and scale of what they can do down to a level they can actually insure and bond against. So you just have to be cognizant of the challenges that they're facing and hear it directly from them and try to work both with a general contractor and with BCI to try to overcome those. So again, it's very time intensive, but we're very much a fan of trying to build that minority contracting base in Birmingham, Alabama.
Well, like I said, that's good to hear. Like I said, I had an opportunity to talk to a lot of subcontractors recently that have decent capacity and definitely have interest in doing more work. So hopefully you all will be able to kind of connect and build those relationships. So I'll pass the ball if anybody wants to catch it.
Councilor Flynn.
I want to thank the committee for their patience. I know it's getting late, but I do have several questions.
Go right ahead. Why not?
Okay, so first I want to start out by reminding administration and staff that when the city of Birmingham approved the funding for the Protective Life Stadium, we created a community benefits agreement and a geographic area that includes this property, and revenues off of that in that geographic area are directed to the Neighborhood Revitalization Fund. So we don't talk about it very often, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind folks that that's what's supposed to be happening. I also apologize for chuckling when you dramatically understated the due diligence and clearing of liens that you guys had to go through. I mean, I came onto the council in 2017. You guys were very much in the midst of trying to get this project off the ground, and I was tracking it pretty closely, and things kept kind of drawing out, and a lot of that was because there were dozens and dozens and dozens of liens on something like, I think it's well over like 50 different parcels, right?
There's over 106 parcels.
Right, and it was way up there. So, yeah, a lot of due diligence work and just to get to the actual acquisition. Wanted to, in follow-up to the minority and women-owned business interest, I wanted to speak directly to those the skilled labor trades. I'm just going to state it plainly. When, we go out into the community and we talk to organized labor, they want to see the city pushing for unionized, trade workers, unionized labor, particularly skilled workers, that journeymen, electricians and so forth. So I know that we've had some preliminary, work that we've done with organized labor to sort of address that issue, but in addition to encouraging or, having some threshold for minority and women-owned business participation, I would encourage all of us to think about some sort of threshold for, organized labor, skilled trades. And then one question about the incentive package. Talk to me specifically about why we're using the terminology forgivable loan. What is that?
It's for a new market.
This is something the city requested, and I'll explain why in a minute, but in effect, really, it's just a change in the form over the structure. We have clawbacks in all of our agreements, and they work the same way this forgivable loan will. To make a long story short, the city created a cooperative district which is trying to apply for new market tax credits, and our consultants on that have suggested that to the extent we can structure incentives as forgivable loans, they will be viewed more favorably in those new market tax credit applications. So that's what we're doing in this case. And there's a promissory note that goes with it, but it really just has the same effect as a clawback. If certain milestones, certain performance standards are not met, there's a payment back to the city.
And under what circumstances would the loan be forgivable?
If they perform completely. They complete the phases on time and complete the development that's been committed.
Okay. I think that's it.
Committee members, do you have any additional questions? Madam President? Okay. Councilor Abbott?
Yeah, unfortunately I do. I'm so stuck on page 8. The original budget was 25 million plus. The revised budget is 17 million plus, which is smaller than 25 million. So why do we have a shortfall if we saved $7.5 million? And what is a reimbursed general condition? You may have already told us that, but I may have missed it.
So I'll answer that question first. Were those your questions? The $2 million is overhead that we have paid for personnel on this project over the last 6 years that we have not been reimbursed for. It's not a part of this budget. And it's just, the only reason we have that line in here is to show that our total investment of that produces a CRD investment of over $12 million in this site. So we incur those costs, but we don't get reimbursed through this budget for those expenses. So our $17 million budget does not include those $2 million worth of overhead cost that we've expended on human resources. To answer your question about the overall kind of sources and uses, the overall budget for demolition of phases 1 and 2 is $17.9 million. We've got $12 million, well, if you subtract the $2 million, we've got $10 million of our own money invested in this. 4.1 was a grant from the city, and the balance would be the 3.7 we're asking the city for today.
I guess I'm still wound up with the $25 million original budget and how it went down, and we still need to give you money.
Yeah, so I probably should not have put the $25 million budget in here, but the reason it was in here was to show the work that we did to reduce that budget over the course of a year. It took us meeting with 20-plus demolition contractors, abatement contractors across the Southeast, really across the entire Midwestern United States, and basically rebid the project to pull $7.5 million out of that budget to reduce it down to $17.9 million. So we did a lot of work internally to reduce our overall budget, but we still have a gap today. A lot of that gap is a combination of us evaluating buildings, and some of the buildings that we had originally planned on keeping, we decided to demo because we get into the buildings with our structural engineer and we find that at this building that we thought we were going to just clean out and reuse. Well, structurally, it's gone. And it's going to be penny wise and pound foolish for me to keep this building and restructure it. I'm going to have to spend the dollars to demolish it now. And that's over the course of both Phase 1 and Phase 2. Fortunately, we're able to save 3 really good buildings on this site, and they all will work for adaptive reuse, and they're all structurally in really good shape. So we feel very good about those buildings. But the buildings that we are tearing down, we don't take that very lightly. We try to adaptively reuse every building we possibly can. Our office is a great example of that. If you've never been to our office, the old Marita Bread Factory, right by the Regions Field, we try to adaptively reuse and use historic tax credits wherever we can. In the case of all these buildings in red that you see, we could not reuse those buildings, mainly because of structural deficiencies of them being abandoned and open for over 15 years.
Okay, and what would happen if we decided that we didn't want to give you any more money?
Well, the contract, our current demolition contract would end when he finishes Phase 1. We would let him go home.
So the rest of the demolition wouldn't happen, and all those crumbling buildings would just continue to crumble?
They would. We would be out of money. We'd have to go back and figure out how we're going to figure that out.
Okay, thank you.
Council members, do you have any additional questions? Councilor Quinn, you good? Councilor Woods?
My question is more so just procedural. Are you looking to combine both of these items and vote on them?
No. So, well, yes, but we're still going to hear the other items, so the healthy. We just want to get this out of the way because this was the most pressing one. Okay. All right, just one question. The minority participation plan, can you send us an updated version? So at the very end of it, it's like to be determined for a lot of the columns. So I don't know if you have a date or close to it, but can you send it to us?
Yes, I'll update it. That went with our original 2020 agreement.
Mm-hmm.
It does need to be updated because some things have, obviously the project has changed a little bit, so we'll update that and resend it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We're going to go back to 17.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Please forgive me but you're in capable hands. All right, thank you.
Amelia, come on back up.
The fun continues.
I think Dr. Thomas also had a presentation as well. She does? Okay.
Yes, so I'm happy to take them in whatever order you all would prefer to go deeper into the items before you in terms of ARPA budget allocations.
Just go in the order that.
Yeah, so we can take the first one. So the first is a competitive grant match at a little over $7.1 million. As I said before, that relates to, or that comes from a previous allocation that council made of, I think it's about 42 million of the overall 141 to the revenue loss recovery allowable use, which can then be used for the provision of government services, of which federal grant match is one. So that's how we're able to make that one work within the ARPA framework.
Okay. Committee members, do you have any questions about this part of the item? Okay. Councilor Quinn.
Yeah, so I'm aware of one grant that we're going after that we're providing grant match for. Can you give me any idea of what's on the horizon? Yes.
Yes. So yes, as you're aware, we've gone off after the rail crossing elimination grant. We're very close to submitting our CRISI grant, which I will forget the exact thing, something rail crossing. And council recently voted to allow the same match to apply to both, essentially. The FRA said that we could apply for both and transfer over the match. To that end, many of the infrastructure projects that we have in our sites with the Department of Transportation, with planning, engineering, and permits, et cetera, are significant grants. So, for example, a typical grant award for RAISE, which is the kind of current iteration of Build and Tiger grants previously from the Department of Transportation, the typical award that recipients have received for that is about $20 million. The consultants that we work with tell us that to be competitive for a RAISE grant, you typically have to put in 30 to 40% of match. So let's say we're going after a $20 million grant for a $28 million project. This would actually essentially comprise 30 to 40% match on that. So that's one example. I don't think we would necessarily utilize all of it on one grant. Our goal, frankly, is to have a little bit of city skin that we can put in the game on match and then go to our private partners and really make these public-private partnerships in terms of federal grants. This gives us more negotiating power, frankly, with those private partners as we're thinking about that grant match and how we make these projects work.
Okay, yeah. Council Woods.
I guess on the back end, because the funds are time sensitive, like at what point would you look to try to shift, like if we don't get awarded a grant or something like that, at what point, how late in the process would you carry that, and then at what point would you want to shift what those funds go to?
Absolutely. So the question was how late in the process would we shift these funds from grant match to other things given the ARPA timeline. So all ARPA funds have to be obligated, i.e. have a budget obligation attached to them by the end of 2024. They have to be expended by the end of 2026. As we understand it, frankly, for a lot of these federal grants, you can typically need to apply 1, 2, 3 times sometimes before you're actually successful. So as we understand it, that essentially we'd have some indication of how competitive those applications would be in time to then be able to reallocate that $7 million toward other projects. So the short answer is we would come back certainly no later than December of 2024 to reallocate it, and likely much sooner just based on the indications that we're seeing over the next 18 to 24 months on these applications.
Thank you.
It's a great question. Thank you.
Okay, next one.
Okay, the next one here is for administrative support for a little over $3.9 million. So the city has recently issued and received, I think it's something like 14 bids for administrative support to actually get these ARPA funds out the door more efficiently. As we've been through this process together and worked through the requirements from the federal government and from Treasury, just the burden of accountability is so high on these funds that we really want to make sure that we're really buttoned up with all of the sub-awardees that we are potentially allocating these funds toward. Council projects alone that we're working through with you all are 90 plus projects in addition to other initiatives that we're working through. So we need to be dotting our I's and crossing our T's on each of those from now through the end of 2026 and actually beyond that, as we are have a burden of retaining all documentation for, I think it's 5 years after that. So this is to cover the entire period of ARPA funds. So when you look at that $3.9 million, that's not just for this year, that's for the duration of the expenditure of ARPA funds through the end of 2026. So we wanted to frankly just go ahead and cover our bases on that additional support that we know we'll need to augment our staff capacity so we can move these projects more quickly, more efficiently, and to the standard of accountability that's required from the U.S. Department of Treasury.
Okay. Committee members, do you have any questions?
Yes,
Madam
I do.
President?
Yes, regarding this on the administrative costs, when I look at the amount of ARPA dollars that have already been allocated or budget allocated based on the 9 counselors, and you look at the money that's still out there to be allocated, I just wanted to know, do these administrative costs, this $3.9 million, does that take into consideration you've already planned those administrative costs based on current projects, or what's in the hopper, or what's to be allocated and provided through those dollars?
So I think to put it simply, to answer your question, this is inclusive of all ARPA projects that you all have advanced to our team, inclusive of all projects that you have provided budget allocations for to date. There are additional projects that are being developed under a number of those allocations in categories like public safety and homelessness support, et cetera, that you all have already approved. So this amount is inclusive of all projects executed under that, $141 million. In our discussions today, the total amount here, in addition to what's been allocated to council districts and in addition to other projects, really accounts for almost the entirety of the remaining ARPA state and local fiscal recovery fund budget. I think it's less than $10 million then remaining after these allocations today. So this is our effort to come back before you and really say, this is what we think essentially the full scope, give or take, of projects looks like over the next few years.
Okay. And the administrative costs, again, include project managers, auditors. I know there's intensive auditing that has to take place or monitoring of the projects. That's included in this cost as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Abbott?
I'm good.
You good? Councilor Quinn? Okay. Councilor Woods?
Yeah, just a clarification question. Is this part of like if there's some support needed for a project of one of the subrecipients, is there, because I think project managers, what jumped out at me is if you could define specifically what they'll be able to do, like project management support for a specific project, or are you speaking more back-end project management support for city staff?
So I'm going to repeat the question back and you tell me if I've got it. So the question is whether the project management support on this would really apply more towards the city's back end, or if some of that would be accessible to the subrecipients that are executing projects. This is really intended to provide back of house capacity for the city side, but I think related to that is the, frankly, significant lift of bodying up on each of those community-based organizations to make sure that they also have the back of house set up. So if, for example, we're working with an organization and we need to make sure that they have an understanding of legal requirements and accounting requirements, that they're able to meet those reporting thresholds, it provides the capacity for our staff to be able to work more closely with them than we currently have capacity to do. That's not to say that we would be directly managing the implementation of the projects that they've contracted for. That would need to be part of the contract. If they needed that project management support, it would need to be a part of their actual agreement. But it does provide us with capacity to, in essence, body up with them a little bit more closely than we've been able to so far, and help them walk that path a little bit more closely.
Lastly, is the intent to contract with one vendor or multiple?
So right now we've received, I think, about 14 bids. Our intention is to contract with one vendor who may have ability to bring on additional subcontractors for discrete pieces of the work. Okay.
Okay. Next item. I think that's the affordable housing one.
So the next item that I have, at least on my list, and maybe is different in your ordinance.
Caraway.
No, you're
I
good.
guess because we just talked about Caraway, so we can skip over that one.
Sure. The next item that I was going to speak to is our enterprise resource planning system allocation. This is a significant allocation of about $15 million, which we project the city will receive in terms of return on investment over the course of this implementation. This is an enterprise-wide system that essentially enables us to streamline our, as it says in the memo that we shared with you all, our accounting, tax and licensing, permitting, human resources, purchasing, project management, contract administration, and business analytics operations. If you have specific questions about that, Chief Mitchell and others can certainly answer the nuances of it, but in essence, it's the scale of operation that's necessary in order to be able to bring our accounting and our contracting accountability into the 21st century.
Okay.
Yes.
Committee members, do you have any questions? You're Councilor Abbott.
Yeah, I just want to know if Mr. Mitchell will please send us that description.
Yeah, it was in that memo that was provided by Mr. Hatcher, but we'll be glad to share that
Okay,
again.
well, if we've already got it, I must have not gotten to the end.
Yeah, it's fine. I just wanted to add a little bit more context. We're in a phase right now where our current enterprise resource system is basically old and outdated. I think I used the analogy to them where we've been driving the same car for the last 15 years when it comes to New World system. So right now we need to find a way to replace it and make it more efficient and effective and basically more customer service centric.
Yes.
I agree. But if I've already got it, I don't need it again. Thank you.
We'll send it again.
I know. Thank you.
Councilor Woods, do you have anything? Okay. Councilor Quinn.
Yeah, so I'll admit I had to do some research to figure out what this was. But it sounds like something that's sorely needed. I think, when the mayor got here and kind of saw how things were running back of house, he used a very eloquent descriptor that I won't repeat. But yes. Anyway, I'm kind of curious, so again, we've needed modernization across the entirety of city operations, and this to me sounds like a big step in that direction. And I'm particularly curious, what are we using now, and how is it broken, and how's this going to fix that? How's the return? Where is the return on investment going to come from? How long does it take us to transition from one system to the next?
So I think this is one of those opportunities that gives us a mechanism to right-size something that was given to us, and we've been trying to add shoestring and bubblegum to it to make it work. So this really would give us that opportunity to have a system in place that will combine every last department into one system. Right now, we probably got no more than 3 to 5 different systems that we're trying to make talk and integrate. That's inefficiency at its best. So this really gives us that moment where we can go out and find a system that will speak to us, get trained up on, and make sure that everybody is running from the same sheet of music, as they always say. So this is one of those opportunities that we need to correct it so we can be more accountable to our citizens, especially those in the business sector.
Right. And so, I mean, this is a huge project, right? And so this is, I would imagine, is going to take a few years to transition to?
Yeah, I think, and Chief Moore can correct me, I think we have at least 3 years to try and get this pretty much finalized, and we have a lot of project managers from different departments that will be using this mechanism to try and develop a system if we go out for a bid to try and find a SAP or Oracle or some type of system that we know that we need to refine to make sure that it's working for everybody.
And the return on investment, does that just come from efficiencies in staff?
And the maintenance that we're paying currently will probably decrease significantly when we just put it under one umbrella instead of a couple other umbrellas.
Right. So, like, if I just remember from some of the contracts, we're actually having to pay entities, software entities to integrate software into our existing platform to create a unique solution for utilizing a new piece of software and so
yes, so what we currently
that cost may go away.
Yes, so what we currently use with the system that we have, our bandwidth of what we really need, we stretched that we stretched that system to the point to where it's not going to work for us going forward. So we just need to get something that's more reliable, basically.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've been driving the same car for 10, 15 years, and we just add rims or we add a new engine to it. We just need a brand new car.
And I'm sorry for all the questions, but I think this is actually, something that is kind of revolutionary for Birmingham City Hall, if I understand it correctly. And I know that this system, these types of systems have data analytics as sort of at the core of all of these different department, things. So what do you guys, envision in the terms of city governance? What are the type of data, variables that we're going to be getting out of this that we don't have currently? What's this going to give us visibility on data-wise that we don't have visibility on currently?
Yeah, I think the system now will hold us more accountable, especially the administration, when the council asks for certain type of data or a citizen asks for data to where we don't have to kind of piecemeal certain systems to make it get the final end product. This just centralizes everything into one system instead of multiple systems.
Okay.
She wanted to add something.
Yeah. Counselor, I thank you for all of those questions. I'm super excited about this opportunity. I want to mention that earlier today, you mentioned the BOLD program, the different programs that have been approved, and you mentioned reporting and being able to have information at your fingertips and wanting visibility. That's one of the main goals of this enterprise system, is to provide that level of visibility across the enterprise. Rather than procuring software individually for departments to suit those departmental needs, this is looking from the top down and having a system where it speaks to the different departments and what their needs are, and there's interconnectivity so that if it's property management, if it's our finances, if it's how we manage our blighted properties in the city, being able to go into a dashboard and have information at your fingertips, on where we stand with our demolitions or abating weeds, that sort of thing, rather than having staff be overwhelmed with using our outdated systems trying to produce that type of data. That's where the savings comes in. How we use our staff and how we respond to our community.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam President.
Thing I just wanted to add, and I was very happy to hear your questions or your just the information you were trying to gather. I didn't have to Google it, but enterprise resource planning, I know that it's very important to an organization, only because I served on a board of an organization that went through this process several years ago. And when I look at the people that are sitting in the audience, when you talking about HR, accounting, budget and finance, operations, and then knowing how data-driven this council is, I think the bang for our buck here will be the information that we're going to be able to be generated when we ask these type questions. And often, we're sitting here and it's not, I'm not going to say it's not because we don't trust you, but it's because we just want to be, just because we want to get that information and it's on-time information and it's accurate information. So I really think this particular item, this $15 million from ARPA, I think is a very good investment for what we want to get out of the future from the council. And I see we've got our administrator here.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Would the council executive staff have access to this information, or is this information going to be pulled for us?
No, the goal is that there will be dashboards that will be available, to different levels of staff based on their needs. That is the goal. It's not, the way we operate right now is staff is called and they're pulling information and they're supplying it. Like today, there were so many requests for information. Somebody has to go pull that information. The goal with this is to make a dashboard available to you, the council members, the administrative staff. Things that you need to know on a daily basis to function will be available to you at your fingertips.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I'm asking. I mean, as the council has said today, they wanted to be in a position to vet things and to have those things to be made a request to you all that it may be that you're overwhelmed, but the system is there. So if access is made available to them, then they could see it on an as-need basis as they need it, rather than looking at it or trying to get the information as the item comes before them. So that would be my concern with the...
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I have two questions. When will this integration start? When will we start using this?
So that's right now, it's just getting the funding in place so we can go and start trying to build what we want the system to look like. I don't know if we're fully confident that we'll need the full 15 million, but we need to have a starting point to make sure that we get the right services to get the correct output.
So if you don't use the full 15 million,
we would like to use every last dollar of it just to make sure that we get a good system. Yeah.
It's going to District 3.
Hopefully we'll get an update about that. And then lastly, if this is possible, this will make all of our lives so much easier. Can we have access to 311 system complaints? And I ask that because I know in the previous administration they did have access to it. Because I don't know about y'all, but I have residents saying they call me, and they're calling 311. I have no idea what complaint they have. I think that would be easier instead of, us asking y'all for the complaints or us calling 311 to get an update on the complaint, if that's possible.
Well, hold on. So, yeah, it's two different things that we're talking when it comes to 311. So I think, Madam President, that we have the whole 311 system at the next committee of the whole. So I think we just need to try and work on that first before we integrate it into this ERP system. So to your point about having access, I think you need to let us show you the system that you will have access to for those 311 complaints.
Okay, and C-Click Fix is different from 311, correct?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, okay. Yeah, Jeff.
Madam Chair, Chief, I just wanted to mention, it's not a coincidence that she's asking you about that. Some of the vendors who were at the NLC conference have the integration of the service call component. And I believe Jefferson County is one of their clients, Tuscaloosa is one of their clients. So they actually engaged the delegation from Birmingham to say how that's integrated into their system. So it's not all right.
Committee members, do you have any other questions? Counselors? Okay, thank you. Next item, or next part of it.
Thank you. So the next item before you is a $1 million allocation for healthy food access initiatives. As you well know, in each of your districts and throughout the city, many of our neighborhoods struggle with access to healthy foods, whether that's access directly to grocery stores or to fresh fruits and vegetables in their neighborhoods. And so what we're aiming to do with this allocation is to really expand our strategy beyond grocery store incentives, which we are certainly using as one tool in our toolbox, but to explore a wider range of opportunities to engage urban growers, to connect urban and peri-urban growers to supply chain opportunities in Birmingham, and ultimately create wealth building opportunities within our food system in Birmingham for our residents. So this is very much a more to come item, but we wanted to represent this as a priority, and in particular align with the Biden-Harris administration's national strategy for hunger, nutrition, and health. So they actually just held a summit on this topic for the first time in 50 years with the federal government stipulating a number of priorities that are sort of more inclusive of that expansive definition of healthy food access beyond grocery stores. So more to come on the specific initiatives that would fall under this, but represents an opportunity to fund a wider range of partners in that work.
Okay. Committee members, do you have any questions, Madam President? You got it, Councilor Abbott.
I'm good. I'm hungry for some of that healthy food right now.
I know, right?
$1 million might not be enough.
Yes, Councilor Quinn.
Just one quick question. So, I forget which budget year it was, but we set aside $500,000 as a, fund to help incentivize recruitment of grocery stores. Could we potentially, since, there's not a bunch of grocery stores lining up to get that incentive, could we look at repurposing those dollars to fill out this amount?
Yeah, I think this is supposed to be some kind of an extension to their program. I'm losing my voice, y'all. Can you go ahead and take that?
Yes. So to that end, I think you're responding to the fund that was created. I believe it was in 2019 when we did the healthy food overlay as well. that was, as you said, a $500,000. As I understand it from IEO, a significant amount of that actually has gone toward incentives for the number of grocery stores that we've been able to recruit. I would have to defer to my IEO colleagues to provide a more detailed update on the specific stores and incentive agreements.
We can supply a report, because I think we've touched almost every district, from the Price Butcher in District 1 to, I think, a grocery store in District 2 to the development over in 5 Points West. And I think Publix was part of one of that incentive too. So, yeah, it's been very successful. So we just need the funding to be in place to help us to continue to expand.
Okay.
So maybe I heard incorrectly. This isn't for grocery stores. It's like alternatives. So like
correct.
Community gardens, farmers markets. Okay. I'll be very interested to see what area you're going to go to first. So, but hopefully when we do this, I know we probably do this already, if we could go to the neighborhoods and kind of ask them, we still have to survey them, see what they would like to see first. So I think that would be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Committee members, y'all good? Okay. Last one.
So the last one is a $10 million allocation for an affordable housing trust fund. And as the council well knows, we've been making significant strides on this front this year. We have a ribbon cutting later this week, and I'm very happy to defer to my esteemed colleagues from Community Development to tell you more about this proposal.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Look, I know y'all tired, y'all ready to go, so we're going to talk about something that is very exciting, though, which I know you all will be happy to hear about, which is our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Before we jump into that, I do want to say that to date, the way in which we've utilized ARPA funding already in Oak Hill, in Woodlawn, has produced 43 additional homes of affordable housing within our communities. And so our $1 million of ARPA funding, our department has turned into $20 million investment. And so when we can have $10 million of ARPA funding that can go into an affordable housing trust fund, it really provides us with an opportunity to think about catalytic investment that is sustainable toward affordable housing. So I have a little presentation. I don't know if y'all have all the, okay. So I want to first just kind of overview housing trust funds and really what the importance is of those. Do you have a copy? It's a one-page. Oh, and it's on the screen as well that might be a little small to see. But you don't have one? We got a whole lot of them, so no one will miss out. So affordable housing trust funds are really an innovative way to think about sustainable financing for affordable housing. As we probably could guess, there's about 7.2 million deficit in affordable attainable housing across the country. And so affordable housing trust funds have really come on the scene as an innovative way for localities, cities, states to think about how they do and create more investment in housing, and how they really produce revenue that the cities and states can use. And so there's about 770 cities, counties, states that have affordable housing trust funds that produced in excess in 2019 of $1 billion of revenue for critical housing needs. And so really the impact is there. 33 states have both state and local housing trust funds, as you can see from the map. Alabama is not one of those. We do have a state affordable housing fund that is unappropriated, so it has no funding in it. And we have no local housing trust funds, and so we're hoping to change that with this initiative. If you go to the next slide, just really high level, a trust fund for affordable housing is for public revenue that can then be used for a variety of ways to create and sustain affordable housing. And I'll get a little bit into why this is so exciting, is because it really provides us a lot of opportunities to think about what does Birmingham need and how can this fund specifically respond to those needs. The benefits are that it can be a dependable source of affordable housing funding. It can really promote equity from the ways in which we leverage the fund and process that. It can also leverage other funding sources, which is what's really unique about the Housing Trust Fund, and it provides flexibility to meet local needs and priorities. And they exist because community organizers, housing advocates, elected officials across the country agreed that a permanent stream of revenue for affordable housing is a public priority. And I think y'all agree with that. I know the mayor agrees with that. And so really thinking about how we get smart about how we do that, I think is critical. And this is an opportunity to do that. So if you go to slide 3, some of these opportunities that we've seen across the country is that it can be financed through local real estate activity, property taxes, tax increment finance districts like Atlanta, surcharges on short-term rentals like Oakland, or state or local bonds like Minneapolis, and it can be a number of these things. It can be a multitude of these things, and it really is of our choosing to be able to figure out what works best for Birmingham, but it allows us a lot of opportunities to think about what sources we want to use. Also, it allows a range of awardees like home buyers, renters, landlords, local housing authorities, and developers. So it allows us to think about people and place that we want to invest in. And then we can also focus on special priorities by assigning higher values and applications for particular populations, for particular places, and we can dedicate portions of funds for specific activities. And so again, it allows us to be specific about the equity that we want to create through our investment in certain populations, in certain places, and in certain activities. And so the impacts we've seen across the country is that it really provides people with more affordable housing options, it preserves long-term affordability, it helps to negate poor health outcomes, which y'all know I care about, that are associated with not only the health of our housing stock, but also with housing costs, quality, stability, and the neighborhood context, as well as, again, leveraging that outside funding for affordable housing, which is really critical and is a huge opportunity that we're not capturing currently. And so I'm citing here Philadelphia as an example, who successfully leveraged $14 million in non-city funding with just $3 million of their housing trust fund. And so as I spoke to a little bit earlier, our $1 million in ARPA has really helped us to leverage then $20 million of investment with our affordable housing developers. And so the opportunity of $10 million that could potentially, if you go to slide number 4, that could potentially in this trust fund grow to $28 million or $24 million really offers us opportunities to attract more investment that can go directly into affordable housing development that's then sustainable, that can create potentially, right, like Philadelphia, 10,000 home improvements, 4,500 stabilization services, 300 affordable rental housing units. And 90% of these investments are all focused towards those that are in the most disadvantaged communities and in the most disadvantaged circumstances. So ultimately, this is 1 year at a glance to the left, 2018 to 2019. And then if you see, they've had this fund for about 11 years, and over that time has really allowed them to produce, right, 3 times or more the amount of money in their fund by being able to leverage other revenue streams and sources. And so this is just a high-level overview of what the opportunity of the trust is. We're really going to be working over the next couple of months to think about what the administration looks like, who are the folks that help us to make the administration of these funds and what that can look like. And so we're really excited again about the opportunity to have this and to be able to utilize this towards sustainable, affordable housing.
Thank you. Committee members, do you have any questions?
Yes,
Madam President.
Thank you. I do. I'm encouraged by forming this type of a fund for affordable housing here in the city. While we were at NBC Leo in Nashville, I believe there was a presentation of how they're using this type program already. And so we were wondering, is this something that we could bring back to Birmingham? I don't know if you all attended that one, but I know that we did. And so this is exciting. I guess the question is, this type of housing, is it single family type housing or multiple? It's just to make housing affordable?
That's right. So it could be used for a number of housing types, and really, as I spoke to, it allows us the opportunity to say what are the needs for Birmingham that then focuses our developers, our partners, our requests for proposals around what our needs are that then funds our housing trust fund dollars towards. So we get to decide, essentially, and I think, we need rental, we need, single family, we need multifamily, and so it allows us to be specific about the locations that those go in and what the types are.
So the expectation here is that you all will create a strategic plan, or you'll have what you feel Birmingham needs, so that as we go out and have developers or prospective project managers who will want to build this type of thing in Birmingham, we'll drive that, though.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I just thought about something. I know we talked about creating a housing and homeless committee, so whenever we create that committee, I would love for y'all to kind of work with them. That way you can have at least 3 counselors' perspectives on, what they think Birmingham needs, or, so we can say we had some type of representation.
Absolutely. That would be great. And I think the trust fund is also an amazing opportunity for our residents experiencing homelessness, and to be able to have specific funds that go towards their needs as well.
Okay. Because when I was at NLC, I actually did a mobile workshop for homeless vets.
Oh,
and
amazing.
Yeah, it was, the housing was very amazing. They had oven, nice beds, a really nice bathroom, and they actually bought the lot from the land bank, which was very interesting. Yeah, so, okay. Councilor Abbott, do you have any questions?
Nothing else.
Okay, Councilor Quinn.
Yeah, so I would assume that this would help us in our competitiveness when applying for federal, assistance for housing. So having this $10 million set aside that we can potentially pull from to help support projects, I assume we could use a portion of this for like grant matches and stuff like that, or just demonstrating leverage.
Absolutely. And I mean, it already is in conversations to think about, we have an affordable housing trust fund that has $10 million in it. How can we think about where we want to leverage that for Choice Neighborhoods Initiative grant, for example, or other grants that we might want to be going after, and then think about then how we target the investment in those neighborhoods to support those grants.
Yeah, and I was really glad to hear you kind of talk about the fact that this is a fund, and not only setting this money aside is one action that we would need to take, but also creating a sustainable funding mechanism to grow it and continue into the future. So I look forward to having those conversations.
I love how you're thinking, because I will be back again with more things to bring forward. So I appreciate that question. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Woods.
Nothing specific to this, but
Oh, okay, comments. What were the neighborhoods you're starting off with? What was it? Pratt City.
With just investment in general, or?
Yeah, well, maybe that's just the beginning, because I know you guys still have plans to touch the other districts as well.
Yes, and so we do have a groundbreaking on Wednesday for Shadowbrook in Pratt City, which we're excited about. And as I mentioned, the other ARPA-funded projects were in Oak Hill and in Woodlawn.
All right. Madam President.
I'm sorry. That makes me ask one more question. So if any of us have our own funding that's being allocated for housing or affordable housing projects, would we be able to use any of this money for a gap? I gotta ask.
It could definitely be a collaborative effort to think about. I mean, obviously the money, we're still thinking about the administration of the fund, which will all come first. However, I will say we've reached out to all of your teams to talk about your ARPA funding that is already going to be allocated towards housing projects. And so we already want to think about what does it look like to make your projects a reality.
So I take that I have a yes on my project. I'm just going to go with it.
Look, I got a yes on mine too, so I'm going to second that. Thank you, Chief. Anybody else have any other questions? Council Abbott.
And this is probably a pretty easy question. Is there anything for market rate housing? Because as a past mayor said one time, we don't want to be a city of low-income housing only. We want a mix. Is there anything to encourage market rate housing?
So we are able to do with certain funding up to 100% AMI, and some of our funds even can go to 120%, which is then at market rate. And so this fund also allows us to say, we're at 100% or at 120% for certain portions of our funding. And when we think about the leverage that we can get from philanthropic dollars that are not then allocated from HUD, it allows us a lot more flexibility around what we want to leverage that money for. And so this is a real opportunity to think even more about mixed income communities and developments in a way that we're really restricted by HUD funding.
Yeah, because mixed is important. It's important for
Absolutely.
people to live, like, I guess it was the Metropolitan Gardens replacement, the Hope 6 was supposed to mix people, of means with people without means, and then it would be a wonderful thing. And we need that. We don't need the people to be pointing to some part of town and saying, well, that's the good part of town, and over here's the low-income part of town.
That's right.
We really want all the parts of town to be balanced.
That's right. And really the way we think about affordable housing development now is to think about mixed opportunities and not segregating or putting concentrated income levels in just one place or another. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
I don't think there are any more questions, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
I don't know if the committee members have any following questions or comments for Amelia. Nope.
We're too tired to ask.
Nope. Well, I know Councilor Woods has a comment.
Thank you. No, like I said, we got these dollars. We knew there would be like no shortage of important, impactful projects and things to put the money towards. But I know as Joint Chief Chaz would say, the administration's projects are expeditiously moving and flowing. I do want to make sure that we are, I guess I don't want to be the council sitting here with $27 million after all the administration money has been spent. And so we want to make sure all of these things are moving at equal pace. Can we get equal?
Make sure our projects get through.
Because like I said, at this point we've allocated it's about 95% of the ARPA dollars out of the 141 million allocation. And, the same excitement and joy in everybody's eyes that when they came up talking about their projects, we would just like a little bit of that excitement when we're moving some of ours. So just want to encourage everyone. But no, I think there's a lot of good things, especially the enterprise resource planning system.
Yes.
I think that's going to be much needed.
Yes.
I think when we talked about getting these dollars, we really wanted to make sure that we were solving some problems that would carry forward into the future. And so I think that a lot of these things definitely do a good job of that. But like I said, there's no shortage of things that can fall in that category. And, like I said, if you wouldn't mind sliding a few of mine over there with y'all so they could move quickly too. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, I will have to say administration does listen when we talk about our projects moving more, and that's why Mr. Hatcher is taking time out to have office hours and to make sure we're good, give us guidance, because I think Madam President and I did have those same sentiments. And so I think it's very helpful, and Mr. Hatcher has given us updates, and so I think if we could just encourage our other colleagues that need a little bit more help, I think they'll help us out. Because a lot of our projects, honestly, are stalled because other people haven't completed their work.
Like who?
Like who? Oh, we'll talk after.
Names.
Yeah, but yes, I'm excited about this, so, okay. Well, if there aren't any more questions, then we can vote on 17 and 21. So I move for approval of items 17 and 21.
Yeah.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
I abstain.
Okay. That is 2 ayes and 1 abstention. Those items pass. Thank you, guys. Next item 19, an ordinance to amend the Neighborhood Allocations Fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023 by transferring $1,500 from Eastwood Neighborhood to appropriating $1,500 to transfer to Fund 001 general fund and amend the general fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023 by appropriating $1,500 to the fire department, fire station number 26, Eastwood, supplies of their small equipment. Did we put that on consent? Okay. All right, well, item number 20, that was placed on consent. Item number 20, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an event sponsorship agreement with Night Edie Sports and Entertainment LLC, under which Night Edie will host the CM Noon Classic basketball game at the BJCC on December 17, 2022. The city will provide incentives to Night Edie in the amount of $30,000 as a sponsorship for the CM Noon Classic, which will generate revenue from out-of-town visitors and will provide positive publicity for the city. Second. Chief?
Yeah, just to quickly just update the council. So this is the year 2 of the CM Newton Classic. Last year we had Alabama versus Davidson that came to at that time the new renovated Legacy Arena. So right now the CM Newton Classic is just a it's just a classic where we recognize Coach Newton, who was the first black basketball coach that was able to give scholarships at the University of Alabama to African American kids. So basically the Classic just brings 2 teams together. This year we have Alabama versus Gonzaga, which is right now 2 top 10, well, top 5 should be ranked teams that are coming to our city. Usually the proceeds from the CM Newton Classic goes to benefit and recognize these student athletes, and they also give a reasonable amount of a contribution to our Civil Rights Institute. They said they will continue to do that also. This is actually going to be the final year, but we still are in negotiations with the University of Alabama to make this a ongoing event in Birmingham. So I'm pretty sure the already sold out event for this year is going to be a testament for them to have it continue to come to Birmingham.
Yeah. And then Alabama just beat the number 1 team, North Carolina, so that'll be a good game. Committee members, Council Abbott.
Do we have projections on the revenue that we think that this game will bring in? Do we have that yet?
Or what did it bring in last year?
I have to pull that. It was significant, but I would definitely get that to the council before it's approved. Before it's considered by the council. I'll pull that.
Thank you. Do you have to pull it from New World?
Okay, Madam President.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Councilor Quinn or Councilor Woods? Okay, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That item passes. Next item, item number 22. This is an agreement with Routeware Incorporated, an amount not to exceed year 1, $491,254.60, year 2, $303,495, and year 3, $327,894 for the provision of certain information technology solutions and services, including the goods and services to optimize waste pickup routes, establish opt-in, opt-out system on recycling, and enforce accountability measures pursuant to H-GAC contract number FL03-21. Said funds shall come from MO103CP004016 recycling program. Second.
Good evening, Council President Pro Tem, Council members, committee members. Nice to see y'all today. I'm Josh Yates. I serve as the Director of the Department of Public Works. And before you today is the Routeware system that I brought back to PIC in June 7th of this year. We are at a point now where we're ready to enter into contract with them, allocate funding, and enter into contract with Routeware. This system is to generate an opt-in and opt-out program for recycling. Basically what that does is we have 100,000 households across the city. Residents, when they call into our C-Click Fix system, when they call us, say you missed our recycling or whatever it may be, we'll also send out letters, we'll send out notices. This is educational components as well as it is data components. We'll be able to identify who wants to recycle, who's interested in recycle, and build and base routes around that. Our current system today, we drive all over the city in one day trying to pick up recycling, and it leads to some misses. We try to cover the entire city in one day for recycling that we cover across a couple of days for waste throughout the week. And if you haven't received the call yet, we got our carts going today. So I've received multiple calls, I'm sure all of you have, of a missed cart here or there, something of that nature. This RouteWare system is designed in order to promote and basically force efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability. It integrates camera systems with our refuse trucks. When we go by and we see a property that there is no cart out, and then they call us an hour later saying you missed our garbage, there's something there to say, no, the garbage wasn't there when we came by. The cost to send a truck back out is very, very expensive. And so what we're trying to do is hold everybody accountable, not just us, but even when we get called back to sites as well. One of the things with our automated side loaders that hit the road today is that they can only pick up what's in the cart. So if there's bags beside, we are giving a little bit of grace this first week and trying to help out, make sure we get our garbage up, especially from the holidays. But we're also letting our residents know that, if it's not in the cart and you have a cart, then we're not really able to pick it up with our automated side loader. So this RouteWare system is a route optimization tool. They're also building in the recycling components of the opt-in, opt-out program. It integrates with a lot of the work that we do, and basically is public awareness, education, engagement, and provides updates and reminders to citizens, works inside with Mr. Journey and a lot of the outreach that we do to our citizens currently. So all in all, it's a great tool. I think it's a good step forward, and this is the infrastructure behind what we need to support us to expand our recycling system in the future.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yates. Councilor Abbott, do you have any questions?
When is this going to go live? What's the date that we're going to ask people to opt in, opt out, and then start going only to the people that have opted in?
So we'll start, once this contract is signed, which it usually takes a few weeks to get the contract in place and all, we'll have an initial kickoff meeting and talk to them about that. I'm assuming that that's going to be somewhere in the first quarter next year. We'll be looking towards going to how we advertise to say, is this, the time, this is the place to advertise, to get our citizens to sign up for the recycling components.
Do we intend to encourage people to recycle, or are we just sort of about it?
Well, we do encourage recycling because it does minimize what goes to our landfills. One of the issues with the recycling industry right now is that the recyclable goods are not as valuable as they once were. That is driving down the participation in recycling in a lot of areas, and in a lot of areas around these parts, they're sending them to Montgomery, where they have a mixed waste and recycling center. The Birmingham Recycling Recovery here, they take our recycling, but when it is contaminated, it ends up back in our landfill, and it ends up at a very steep price back in our landfill. So recycling is not where we really want it to be right now. We need to bring more of the industry in the market that could use the recyclables that we do recycle. We do have a good number that is going to the recycling. Of course, we get invoiced by that. It's I can't remember the exact number per ton, but the more industry we have that's interested in the recyclable goods, the better we can do as far as providing them with that specific material.
Well, I'm sure the fact that our recycle bins are open to rain is probably a big reason, because I understand if you put it out and it gets rained on, it becomes contaminated and we pay double to get rid of it. Most people don't realize that. So if you don't cover your bin when it's going to rain, you've just wasted all your time collecting all those recyclables that you so carefully washed and folded and broke down. So, I'm really interested in our city being a little more proactive about educating people about why it's important. Just make a big picture of a garbage truck dumping money out into the landfill, which is exactly what it is. And but the city has never shown any real enthusiasm for encouraging recycling. It's just been like an afterthought, and that's how a lot of people treat it.
Yes, ma'am. This system, Routeware, had bought out the company that's now integrated with it, and part of this contract is Recollect. And Recollect is a public engagement, public awareness, and public education notification company. So part of this contract document will include the educational awareness and the public information piece.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Councilor Quinn.
Yeah, so I got to admit that these prices strike me as pretty high. And I assume that is because they're sort of building out a unique solution for the city of Birmingham. Is that accurate, or?
Are you talking about the recycling prices or the prices in the contract?
No. I'm talking about the cost of the service.
So the cost of the service that's in the contract is for every bell and whistle they have. That's covering every bell and whistle with the cameras, with
data storage and
yes, everything. We're not, and that also for 60 trucks. So that's not per se that we're going to enter into all that right now. That's why that is as high as it is. We may not use the full extent of that.
Okay. So I assume that there's no hand carts included in this. This is just the Routeware software and all that. Okay. So we'll have to work on that so that people's recycling doesn't get rained on. In terms of enforcing accountability, is that go beyond just the images produced by the cameras? I mean, if we come by and you've got your recycling bin there and it's got a trash bag on top of it and some brush in front of it, is there going to be any enforcement of accountability in those situations?
So one of the things that's coming before you very soon, I believe it's coming back to PIC committee. Ms. Bernard and myself have been working on a list of items to bring before you that we believe would be highly recommended to add into our local ordinances. And if they are added into our ordinances, it would have, enforcement capabilities to it. That includes additional trash on top or having to go back or having to pick up with another method other than automated. So, we're a unique city that does not charge residents a garbage fee. Every municipality does. So one of the things that we're saying basically with this program and some of the bullet points that will be brought before you is that, here's our service that we're providing. If we're going to be above and beyond or having to do more manual labor in order to get this up, that there potentially be a service fee associated with that, the extras, not the standard, we pick you up your 96 gallon once a week. So that's something that's going to be coming before you, and if that's something that this body feels like they want to vote on, then that's something that we can carry forward as well. But that will give us teeth behind the go-backs and the cost for us to continue to go back out. Because right now we come by and we pick up everything that's out there. And almost every resident, I've heard it from individuals that work with us, that their family members bring trash in and put it in front of their house because they know Birmingham will pick it up for free. And really the goal of this is to clean up our neighborhoods. And at some point we've got to get to a point of this is our service that's free, and anything beyond that should be something that's the responsibility of the property owner.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this is going to be the last question. You mentioned that 60 trucks would be, this technology would be implemented on 60 trucks. That's, well, let me just get to the point. I feel like this would be a much better investment if we could apply the same type of thinking about brush and rubbish collection. So, you know, currently we're running up and down every street, whether you've got brush and rubbish out there or not, you know, and it's comparable to the recycling situation, you know. So am I thinking correctly that the same platform could be easily translated to brush and rubbish?
Yes, sir. That's what 60 is for. It really only we run 28 routes for garbage collection each day, and it's very similar, roughly 28 routes for our brush. That's why there's 60 on there, so that we can integrate it towards both operations.
Awesome. So it's more than recycling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's more than recycling, but it's a platform for all our waste spectrums. I couldn't really do garbage without, or recycling without garbage, and really when we're identifying routes and we're route optimizing our trucks, it all goes hand in hand because the brush routes are a little different but similar to our waste routes. And right now there's no technology behind it, and every day when the driver leaves, that's Johnny's route that only Johnny and the collector's on the back knew. And now we're having to figure it out. Whereas once this system's in place, the trucks will be identified. Any driver can get in that truck, and they'll be able to see the exact route where they're going in each individual house as they cross this path.
That's great. I'm glad we got some clarification because I was just under the impression because of the wording that it was only going to apply to recycling. But this is really applies to the our entire sanitation collection system.
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
I want to ask one question. Will recycling still be free with this system?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay.
Ma'am.
Just want to make sure. You got to ask. Council Woods.
Thank you. Question as far as like the cameras, how does that data come through? Like how long of a delay from when that camera actually sees something to when you can view that on the back end? Like if you need to.
That's a good question. I believe it's running off a cell network, so I believe it's pretty much real time. I'll have to get back with you on a for sure answer to that question. But based on if it running off a cell network and going to in a cloud-based form, it's nearly real time.
I think it creates a good opportunity because if you're going to not pick up somebody's trash because it's not in the trash can properly, I think we definitely need to be following it up pretty quickly with some sort of warning or enforcement to try to correct that behavior so people know why their trash wasn't picked up.
Because they'll call us.
Well, I mean, my concern was like if you don't pick it up, then it's just going to get blown everywhere and torn up. And if we don't enforce it, then the behavior is not going to change.
Wow.
So there's that, but that's something else. But the regular committee members tied us.
No, you're fine.
Save my questions for
whenever you that's actually one of the ordinances he was talking about was to require you to put a trash bag in your trash can. And Mr. Yates has talked about educating people first before starting the enforcement. I think Chief has talked about I think they may be finalizing how they redo code enforcement. So I think by the time all of that comes together, we'll really be able to hit the ground running with that. He does. Committee members, do you have any other questions? Okay. Where there's been a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. That item passes. Thank you. And then item 23, an ordinance to amend the general fund operating budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023 by transferring $100,803.50 from Department of Public Works to capital projects to cover personnel expenses.
I move approval.
Why are you looking? We actually going to withdraw this item. I'm sorry. We're withdrawing the item.
Okay, well, we're going to withdraw item 23. All right, so item 24, old and new business. I don't think we have any old and new business. The next Budget and Finance Committee meeting will be on Monday, December 12th, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Move for adjournment.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone.